you'd be surprised how many people don't even know about that. And I'm like, yeah, they're trying to bring the population down to 500 million. So of course they think that's a conspiracy theory, but it's a fact. It was written in stone at the Georgia Guidestones, and I saw it with my own eyes. I went there, I touched it, I saw it, I did a film on it, and yeah, they're trying to kill us. And right now, what's going on in Iran, this is all, again, by design, with everybody working together to create a famine, because that's another way that they have to try to kill us. And that's, again, it's a man made thing. Famine is always man made. And we're just falling into this trap, like you said, with a lot of these podcasters who are paid to black pill people. And no, I am not black pilled. I'm red pilled, but I'm also realizing that you're absolutely right, Christian. We are going to break through to the other side. That's why this is the apocalypse. It's the unveiling. And we're actually using their technology against them. That's why these shows, every once in a while, we break through the algorithms. How? Through word of mouth. Hi, this is the Maverick artist Victor Hugo reporting modern art gonzo journalism for the modern art music movement. It is where I am Thursday, April 16th, 2026, reporting from the former Soviet Union, Republic of Georgia, near the border with Russia, Turkey, Armenia, and Azerbaijan. A camel ride away from Kazakhstan, the Ukraine, Israel, Syria, Iran, Lebanon, Palestine, Yemen, and the Gaza Strip. My job is not to be politically correct. It is to witness, observe, analyze, and document the beautiful chaos that surrounds us all, so that future generations can understand how we got to this moment in time where I am blessed to be reunited with, for the first time on this show, after being a guest on the Christian White Show, which you can find on YouTube. The link is there in the description section. I urge you to check it out. He's interviewed some very interesting people, and he is now on the other end of the interview. So welcome, Christian White, to the show.
I appreciate the invite. It was great to have you on. Gosh, maybe about a month ago, and it's a crazy world. Just to sum it up, I was taken back by some of the things that you shared about some people out there, and yeah, it's it'll change your life doing this, right?
Yeah, it does. I want to get into some of the interviews that you've done, but first, I want to share it with people because you're right. It is a crazy world. You know, we've got heroes of all kinds, and in where I am is the homeland of Stalin. And Stalin was responsible for the death of millions of people. They say it was about 100 million people that allegedly were, because of the things that this guy did, got killed. Kind of like what's going on right now with Benjamin Netanyahu and with Donald Trump. And what's interesting is most people see this man as a villain and as a monster. But here in this country, he's a hero. I mean, there's socks, there's wine, there's alcohol. And so I bought these because I realized these are unique items that you can probably only find here. But the same thing goes in the United States. There's posters of Trump and everything, but around the world, people are seeing Trump as basically the puppet of Benjamin Netanyahu, and not a hero, but rather a villain that is creating all sorts of terror around the world. So I guess what I'm trying to say is some people are heroes, other people are considered terrorists. It depends on where you're at. And you're in the United States, Christian White, so how are you seeing at this moment in time? Because the title of the show is Ramifications of Geopolitical Situations Mankind Faces During the Apocalypse, which is the unveiling. So here we
Yeah.
are. I must admit that I voted for Trump twice because I fell for it. And then I realized that he was the lesser of two evils. And what you get when you vote for the lesser of two evils is evil. And so I started warning people about him. It's up to you if you want to say if you voted for him or not.
Sure.
But like, how do you see him now at this moment in time? Is he the same person you thought he was the first and second election?
Not at all. I'll just preface that I think like much of us grew up in kind of a left-right paradigm, right? We're told Democrats are bad or Republicans are bad or what have you. Pick your flavor. And I voted for him as well. I figured this is a lesser of two evils, et cetera. So went with this person. And really, if it weren't for doing the show and for things not going to plan years ago in my life, but which led me to doing a show, I'd probably still hold those same views more or less. Although I feel like the shift, there's definitely a shift that's gone on. I look at Trump as someone who postured himself as anti-establishment. Right, that was the narrative that we were fed. That he's fighting against the globalists, and as evident in Butler, Pennsylvania, and in the other assassination attempt, and the lawfare being waged at him. Like, and I look back on it now, and I can't help but think this is kayfabe. How do I know what is even real anymore? And as a matter of fact, it's not even Trump. I think all these people, they're obviously all controlled. I mean, all over the world. And you'll hear some people say, and if you wanted to stay on that thread, let me know. I'm going to deviate here for just a moment. But some will say that the BRICS nations are the good guys and they're fighting against the West, the globalists, and I really lean more towards that. It's really a lot more centralized than I think people realize. And I think this is all part of that dialectic, that theater that goes on. So Trump, I bought into the kayfabe, the voting. I actually don't plan on voting anymore, with the exception of if I'm in a small town. Yeah, I see perhaps some utility in voting for like a local mayor or HOA or something small. But gubernatorial stuff, obviously, we have the elections going on. We have a number of different characters over here in California running. But certainly, presidential elections, it's all controlled, and people get so caught up in it. It blows my mind. They get really. You showed Stalin earlier, and of course, Stalin had a cult of personality that he curated, both during the Great Patriotic Wars, they call it in Russia, World War II, and also into the Cold War years, up till I think Khrushchev replaced him, and I mean, he did a hell of a job of just brainwashing people, right? Erasing narratives, stories, sacrifices a lot of Russians had made during the war. Happy to go into that. I actually studied a little bit of that for when I was working on a master's. And I think at Trump, in some respects, we have people who are very diehard with Trump. There's people that I am connected with when I used to live in Orange County, California, which is a really kind of your last vestige bastion of conservatism in California, with the exception of parts of Northern California and the Central Valley of California. And there are some people that still really subscribe to this 3D chess, this 5D chess notion that he is fighting, the city of London, or that he is, that he's outwitting and outsmarting these people. And I just don't get it. And I certainly don't subscribe to that. So I know I'm kind of deviating there for a moment there, but I don't know if you had something you wanted to comment on as it relates to that. But that's kind of my succinct take on Trump in politics.
Yeah, I'm seeing the same thing. And main source 55 in the live chat says we're watching kabuki theater. So yeah, this is all a show, and I agree with you. I think BRICS is also part of the ultimate goal. I think Putin, Xi Jinping, even Iran is all playing into this one world government plan, this digital slavery, and the depopulation plan. I think really it's the central bankers who are still in control, because if you understand who it is that set up the BRICS, I think it was one of the guys from one of the central banks that set that thing up. So they've even got their footprint in that. I don't know. I think the more that I'm seeing by doing these shows, I'm learning that we are in a dire straits, because other than a handful of the podcasters, most of them are controlled opposition. We were talking about that earlier with Jack and Margie, who are blacklisted on a lot of the shows because they bring solutions. But what I'm noticing is the people who are the main podcasters that get the most views, which is insane how you see some of them are getting millions of views, but they don't really have any serious content, and they are fluff. They're engaging in the narrative that they're given, the scripts. but they're bot farms. They buy the views, they buy the likes. They don't really bring any substantive information or solutions. They just want to keep feeding the fear porn. And so, are you noticing that as well? That most of it is controlled opposition, or what's called Project Pogo and Project Zephyr? For those who don't know, Project Pogo and Project Zephyr are where the governments, the CIA, the feds, they get people who have been arrested and have criminal records and they're facing time. They say, listen, we'll make you a personality. You can go on the internet. You'll be a podcaster. We'll get you all the, you'll become famous and rich, but you gotta follow the script. So that's Project Program. What's happening is, and a lot of people are noticing now, before they were censoring anybody who was talking about the COVID or having conversations like what we're having. You're not allowed to have these conversations. But that's when Project Zephyr comes in, where these FEMA camps that they've set up, and I'm speaking to people from Belarus and from other countries in Europe because I'm in this gateway country, and they're telling me that they're being stopped on the street by police and they're being arrested for posts that they made on Facebook or on social media, Instagram, 6 years ago. And then they're facing up to 8 to 20 years in prison. Zelensky just passed a anti-Semitism law yesterday, and people may face 8 years in prison. So that's where Project Zephyr comes in. Once they let people speak freely, then they're looking, and people are thinking that they're able to hide behind fake names and avatars. That's not how it works. They have backdoor access, even through VPNs, into your computer. They know exactly where you are. They know exactly who you are. So just because you're hiding behind a fake name and avatar doesn't mean they can't find you or that they will find you. That's what Project Zephyr is. And so that's why people are saying, wow, that's really strange. I'm noticing that I'm not being banned or censored anymore. Do you see that because you're interviewing a lot of people also who are speaking truth? Are you finding this to be a little bit strange now that even my
Yeah.
shows I've broken through? I'm getting 300,000 views now.
Well, that's probably the writing on the wall. 100%. Candidly, I did not think that I was even going to be covering these topics. And I'll preface that really up until really a year ago, I wasn't even aware of a lot of these. Actually, yeah, well, I started this in the summer of 2024. So I would say, yeah, literally until about a year ago, I was pretty bereft of a lot of these topics. So I have literally done a deep dive into a lot of this stuff. I'm not going to posture myself as some like expert in this stuff. I'm learning, I'm absorbing things, I'm iterating. I'm not going to, fill in the blank. But I will say, yes, I have heard that from other people in that, why is it that we're able to do it and talk about certain things? I don't know your thoughts are on Max Egan, but Max Egan had been banned for quite some time on YouTube. Now he's got an account again. Johnny Cerrucci, same thing. Now he's able to have an account again. There's a handful of other people, and I mentioned how I didn't expect to be covering these topics, and I just want to preface just to give some context here. I started off just wanting to bring on different people, bring on different guests. I used to have a social club a few years ago, and I met a lot of great people in Orange County and in LA, and I wanted to, hey, talk with people, and then I also wanted to learn about finance. I was candidly having to kind of do like a restart, so to speak, figure out what I wanted to do in life, and then naturally, just curiosity led to questions. Private central banks. Okay, well, what's the deal with these private central banks? Why are these this negative thing, and then okay, power structures, and then just kind of going down and down the layer, and now I'm finding myself talking about topics where I'm like, okay, well, the cat's where this cat's out of the bag or whatever, you can't go back with whatever you put on the internet, and I'm like, damn, like maybe I shouldn't have covered some of these topics, power structures in particular. But it begs the question, to your point, why is it able to be talked about now? And then as it relates to these people who are big, that's something that I've really lamented, Victor Hugo, is, putting so up until relatively recent, I was putting in like 70 hours a week, tons of time into the show, building it. And I went from getting a lot of traction like 5 months ago, like a lot of traction. I was like, shit, like I'm going to be at X amount of subscribers. Like, this is okay. This is great. This is cool. And now it's like, you'll get little hits here or there, but it's nowhere near where it was 5 months ago. And then that led me down the rabbit hole of, okay, well, a lot of these people who are, big names. I don't need to mention. I mean, I think we know most of these people. Rumble or on YouTube. There's some controlled opposition. There is something going on. I've also heard from other people that the Israelis have this program called, this software called the Pegasus. And Pegasus 2.0, I guess, is the latest one where they can literally clone your phone using Wi-Fi. I mean, to your point, like people use Signal or they'll use what's the other app? I mean, or they'll use like what's it, like Proton Mail, et cetera. But you know, who's to say that these intelligence agencies don't have access to that? I think they do. I think they do. I think Mossad, CIA, all MI6, all these, they all work together. They have access to all this stuff. I don't think any of our stuff is really safe. Yeah, I think there's things you can do like, that are that will help perhaps maybe make it more challenging, if you will. But I mean, shit, when you stop and think about it, they can literally know everything about you. And I'm not just talking about what's on your computer or on your phone. I'm talking about the utility companies sent information, of course, to the grid or to the system. I don't know the nuances to it. They know when the electricity's on, when certain appliances are on. They can sense, how much water is being used. They can see obviously bank statements, things when you're traveling, you're making purchases, you're doing this. I mean, they can have a whole profile of you. And now you have things like Palantir and you have all these other systems where they can curate it and they don't need people anymore. And that's the thing that I've realized is the depopulation stuff works great because you don't need the people. You have mechanized slavery in the form of AI. And so what took 10, 20, 30, 50 people to render a certain job or function, you need far less people. And I'd like to touch on that at some point in the episode where I talk about Agentic AI, which is a newer thing that I don't think a lot of people are aware of. And I think they need to take it very seriously. But yeah, are they compiling lists of people? And when people go on particular shows where they go in person and visit somebody's house in the Northeast, is that person posturing themselves as this, man of the people, if you will, but they're actually collecting intelligence. They're collecting data points, because when they effectuate their agenda. And by the way, I know a lot of topics we talk about, or at least on my channel, it is negative in nature. It is doom and gloom. And I don't want to be that person and put it out there. And I just want to preface here also, I think we live in a great time in light of challenges that we have. No doubt there have been challenges throughout millennia, epoch, et cetera. But I think we have a lot of blessings. We have a lot of things that we can work with. And I think ultimately these forces will fail. At least that's my perception of things. But I'm not going to pretend that we don't have some major challenges that we're going to have to navigate through socially, politically, economically, et cetera. But yeah, it can be disheartening when you have a show, you're putting a lot of energy into it, and you've got somebody making cat videos or somebody doing something else or they're talking about something where they're playing it safe, is very PC, and they are getting the views, which translates to obviously revenue, right? Because I mean most of us have to make a living, and it has felt demotivating at times, candidly. When I see that. And I also think it's a grave disservice when you have people in alternative media, even those who aren't compromised or what have you, where they keep people in the matrix. They keep people in the left-right paradigm. They keep people bereft of the power structures that go on, or different mental models of it. And I think that is a huge disservice, and it just keeps people in the cycle. But I think people are waking up more, especially the younger generation. I'm a millennial, but I've noticed even the people 10 years younger than me, those who are in their early 20s and even younger, high school, they are a lot more red-pilled. They are a lot more aware because they weren't like the millennials or Gen X, the boomers, et cetera, where by and large, legacy media, you go to the gym, legacy media, you go home from, you have a TV, legacy media, they're not inculcated in the same way. They're a lot more crass. They're willing to speak their mind. They see what's going on with respect to Zionism and a myriad of other things. So I think things are looking a lot more favorable. I actually talked a bit about that with Derek. Excuse me, is it Derek? It's Drew Treglia, who did the movie Jonestown, which is obviously based off that animated video, I guess, by Larkin Rose. And he mentioned about how his daughter, I think she's like 13 or something, but she is like, of course, she's around him, right? So she's gonna be more red pill. But even her kid, even her friends, they're more in tune, they're more aware of it, because they're on TikTok, they're on X, and obviously you have the Zionists, et cetera, trying to buy up that stuff. And I also think it's not just the Zionists. I think there are other groups too that don't receive nearly enough attention. I think the Zionists are almost kind of like middle management. I think they're kind of a distraction. And I've talked about that with other guests too. I know I'm going off on a tangent, so feel free if you want to keep me on a certain thread. But I think the Vatican is extremely powerful, and I say this as someone who was raised Roman Catholic and a confirmed Catholic and family. So not knocking Catholicism or Catholics, but I think the Catholic Church is incredibly powerful. And the conversations that I've had with people, it is incredibly dark. Trafficking and the Vatican Bank, and I think that they're up there with the Zionists in turn the Sabbatean Frankist element that you hear a bit about, even like Chabad leadership in Chabad. I want to be clear on that. That they're running things. There's other cliques. I'll just frame it that way. And then some say, right, it goes interdimensional or what have you, depending on your paradigm. But no, it's very interesting, and it's I guess the term is open up a can of worms. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. I feel like the guy from the movie They Live, right? Or we're in the sunglasses, and I'm just like, and I was talking to a financial advisor that I had the other day that I'm no longer using, and how clueless the guy was. I mean, totally clueless. I'm not, I talk about finance on my channel, and I'm not going to pretend to be like some financial expert, know ins and outs, but I know a hell of a lot more of what is going on in the alternative space with, other things going on that are just not, it's just all, it's the forward guidance. It's the controlling the narrative. So I'll just stop talking there, but yeah, that's my,
Well, no, there's a lot to break down there. Thank you for just stream of consciousness. That's great. I really encourage that because it allows us to understand your perspective. And I don't censor my guests from exploring their consciousness. One of the things that I wanted to point out is absolutely, I agree with you. It's the tripod. The Washington, D.C. is the military arm of the central bankers, which are out of the city of London. And then you've got the Vatican, which controls the souls and the air. If you're building anything anywhere, any skyscraper, you have to actually get permission from the Vatican to be able to control the space. Unbelievable. They don't control the land, but they do control the air. So I don't know if people realize that, but yeah, you have to get permission from the Vatican to build up. Also, they control the birth certificates. They're the ones who register every single birth certificate around the world, and they claim to control the souls. But then when you dig deep into it, the Rothschilds were the ones who took over the Vatican Bank, and the Jesuits are the ones who are really in charge of the Vatican, and the white pope is just the figurehead. It's the black pope who's actually in charge that nobody really knows, and they answer to the rabbinical council. So the rabbis are the Jews. So that's why when people talk about the Roman Catholic Church, I'm like, that's Jewish. Roman Catholicism is actually Jewish. And they're so deep. And then you've got the B'nai B'rith, which is the ones who control the Freemasons, which is Judaism for the Goy. And then you've got Chabad Lubavitch. And Chabad Lubavitch and B'nai B'rith are in a battle right now. Yeah, there's all battles going on within all these. There's all sorts of traitor things going on, but ultimately they all look at us like useless eaters because it goes to the black nobility, goes to the ancients, the white dragons and the black dragons, the people who apparently are supposedly extraterrestrial beings that control this planet. And then if you see what's going on in Japan, the emperor apparently has direct lineage to the dragons, and they say that dragons actually were once on this earth and stuff. So, and then you have all the hidden texts that have not even been interpreted or that have been kept from us in the Vatican Library or that have been destroyed throughout history. How they always use fires to destroy what they don't want us to know about, or the mud floods and stuff, because they've been controlling weather for so long. So we really don't even know who the heck we really are, and we're just trying to. That's what I'm trying to do with these shows that I do and the guests that I have on. I learn something new from everybody, and that's really what I'm hoping that people take from these shows that I do with you hosting or as a guest. That we open people up to this because, like you, I've been speaking to some very high level people, and I'm surprised they don't even know the stuff that we're talking about. Some of these people actually did take the bioweapon disguised as vaccine and they vaccinated their children. And they were like, well, we had to do it because they wouldn't allow the kids in school if we didn't do it. And the thing is, I'm talking to them because I'm assuming, and that's a terrible thing. I should never assume because there's always new people coming to this channel. I'm assuming that people know, hey, listen, that was a bioweapon created by DARPA, and it was used as a depopulation plan for Agenda 21, Agenda 2030. And you'd be surprised how many people don't even know about that. And I'm like, yeah, they're trying to bring the population down to 500 million. So of course they think that's conspiracy theory, but it's a fact. It was written in stone at the Georgia Guidestones, and I saw it with my own eyes. I went there, I touched it, I saw it, I did a film on it, and yeah, they're trying to kill us. And right now, what's going on in Iran, this is all, again, by design, with everybody working together to create a famine, because that's another way that they have to try to kill us. And that's, again, it's a man-made thing. Famine is always man-made. And we're just falling into this trap, like you said, with a lot of these podcasters who are paid to black pill people. And no, I am not black pilled. I'm red pilled, but I'm also realizing that you're absolutely right, Christian. We are going to break through to the other side. That's why this is the apocalypse. It's the unveiling. And we're actually using their technology against them. That's why these shows, every once in a while, we break through the algorithms. How? Through word of mouth, because they can't censor word of mouth. And I've learned that by being here and seeing how these people were able to bring down the Soviet Union, because when the news came on, they knew it was fake. They would walk their dogs outside and they would talk to their neighbors. And then they would realize how they can actually break free of that. So we're still all slaves, really. I mean, we haven't broken free, but we have the capacity to do it. Unfortunately, there's a lot of dead weight around us, and that's what's holding us down. These people who are just going along to get along. And I think once we get rid of that, and it's going to happen organically because a lot of these people are already dying from the COVID vaccine. A lot of these people are going to starve to death. I mean, if you're living in a big city, you're probably going to not make it, really. So yeah, these are hard truths, but this is what we do on this show. And on your show too, because I've noticed you and I have shared a lot of the same guests.
Yeah, it's yeah, and I'll also add that apart from a lot of the topics not being the most positive in nature, I have found holes in some of the things put forth, but by some of the guests that I've had on, or alternative points of view. Even when it's interesting because in alternative media, there is disagreement amongst different commentators, of course, right? No, I mean, very few people they share the exact same thesis. However, there are certain themes that permeate regardless of one's position on what this group is doing or what's that group or this or that. And so there are certain themes, the pedophilia, the trafficking, the satanic element seems to be a common thread. Regardless, someone says this group is that whatever common thread, the desire to bring about depopulation. And a myriad of other things. I also mentioned it's interesting in that when you look at it from a historical perspective, that traditionally, right, if you're a country, you want more people, right? That's going to be more tax revenue. You have military, you have labor, right? And now you don't need that because now we have automation being rolled out. And I guess I'll bring it up instead of just bringing it up later since it's germane right now. But the latest thing recently is agentic AI, and I don't know how familiar you or the audience is with it, but
Yeah, what is it?
think
Agentic
yeah,
AI?
it's called agentic AI. It's where AI is actually able to perform and execute autonomous tasks. Okay, so what's different from ChatGPT or Grok or Gemini or whatever, what have you, is it's been similar to kind of like a Google, right? You'll type it in and it'll retrieve and put out information. It'll do a PDF for you. It'll do different stuff in it, and it's certainly was revolutionized and changed our lives. However, agentic AI is going to change things even more, and if people don't start learning about it and iterating on it, some have speculated that there might be an underclass. This K-shaped economy, it might become very bifurcated between those who have it, who know how to work it, and they're creating businesses, they're creating wealth, and therefore they have the power of the purse, which means they can make political decisions, influence people, et cetera. So what I'm getting at is agentic AI is basically different from what we're seeing today in most mainstream AI is that it'll actually perform tasks. And for example, I'll use an example. You install it on your computer. So this is what you do. This is what I'm planning to do. I actually have a Mac Mini arriving here in a few days here. I have my main computer, like I'm talking with you right now, right? So what you do is you get another computer. This is what people are doing to mitigate risk, and you localize it. Now, for those in the audience who are not familiar with that, what you're doing is you are putting it on your computer in a way where it doesn't need to be connected to the internet, technically. So if you want, and what this thing does is it uses the AI that we have presently. Think of Claude from Anthropic, or think of OpenAI's ChatGPT, et cetera. It uses that as its brain to carry out tasks, and it can open folders in your computer. You could tell it, hey, and I can speak to my phone here. I can speak to my phone here. Hey, go through my emails, triage, and get back to people that I need to send an invoice to, and send an invoice to it. Do whatever you need to do. It'll go, and what you do is you can set up another bank account or a crypto account separate from yours, right? For safety stuff, and it can go and perform those tasks. It can go perform a bunch of stuff. And so that's what people are doing is now the beauty of it is, it's already takes, for those who aren't in podcasting, it can take a lot of time. If you want to deliver a great show, you want to bring on guests, got to research people, you're trying to understand the topics. Just like for this show, I just spent probably 3 hours just prepping for it because I didn't know what questions you're going to ask me. So it takes a lot of time. And it'd be nice to have an assistant there to be able to do it. Well, I was leveraging, AI to help. What I do is, I wrote down, when I watch and read and curate information on different news sites, I write it down by hand, right? What the hand does, the mind remembers, right? As they say. And what I do is I take a picture of it. I'll then send it to AI. Hey, organize my thoughts, right? Because I might write about something geopolitical, write about something financial in nature, something about society or tech, but it's all over the place. Hey, I want you to organize it, put it in place, put it in a PDF here. So when I talk to Victor Hugo, I'm dialed in, I'm ready to rock and roll. So right now, what people are using is they're using OpenClaw, and they're using Hermes, sometimes interchangeably. And there's other ones too. And what they're doing, again, is they're putting on a different computer, clean slate. It can be any computer. Just get a computer, put it on there. You only give it access to the things that you want. So you only put on things on the computer that you feel comfortable putting it on there, okay? And then that machine can then learn different tasks and learn different things. It's basically an agent. So if you're using an agent, let's say over in the Philippines or overseas, to execute tasks, to do video editing, you can train this. And it then uses the AI to ideate, to think of things. So this is very different. And so people are actually starting businesses. There was one guy who told it, hey, I'm going to give you $500 and go make, I know we're deviating here from the thesis of the show here, but
No, this is
I'm going
great
to give
because
you,
I've not heard about this. This is great. I
yeah,
hope the audience is too. This is scary, actually.
yeah. No, it's serious. And you know what? I had some people give me pushback when I talked about it on my show, when I shared it with guests, and like, AI, because AI has such a negative connotation. I mean, it does in the West. In China and other parts of the country, they're embracing it, like the everyday people. I'm not just talking about the government. And the thing is if you don't learn it, someone is going to learn it, and you're going to get dispossessed. Obviously, certain jobs they're going to last longer than others. If you're in certain blue collar fields, I think you're going to do great. If you're in certain things where, like podcasting, or maybe art, like maybe you're a painter, or you're doing certain things are going to hedge well. More sophisticated levels of white collar jobs are good, but entry level white collar jobs, those are going to be gone. And things are changing and accelerating so fast. And people always say, well, this is like the steam engine, or this is like the cotton gin, or what have you, or the microprocessor, or fill in the blank, but this is so fundamentally different. This is like going from the Bronze Age to the 20th century. And the amount of volatility and change that's going to be going on is astronomical. So, but back to the $500 thing, somebody told it, OpenClaw, here's $500, create a business. He told it basically, if you don't figure it out, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna shut you down. Like he worded it in some way or whatever like that. And it went and it made money. It made money, whether working in stocks or finance. I'm just throwing different ideas out there, or some type of e-commerce store. Like people are actually doing this. You have kids doing this. There's a kid who's actually he's like 15 years old, training people, because this just came out like a few months ago. It's been around since breakfast. He's getting a 15-year-old's getting paid to help business owners set it up. So what's happening is you're having C-suite executives, you're having people who are in these white collar roles where they have all these tedious tasks they need to do. They typically have an assistant. They're getting rid of those. They're paying people to have it set up on their computers, on separate computers, not their main one, and they're setting it up so they can function and perform quicker and faster. And again, I mentioned the localization where, and that's going to be the future, by the way. Mark my words. That is going to be the direction right now, because people right now are predicated on using the cloud, right? There's issues with the cloud because they can take it away from you. Just like we have all our music, videos, streaming, photos of our loved ones. It's all in the cloud, right? For when we can talk about that later. There's obviously, I'm sure, an agenda behind that. But with AI, they can downgrade it. They can choose like, we don't want the people having all this. Look at, I have it up here on my other screen, Anthropic's Mythos, right? I'm sure you've heard about that. They are not letting people access that presently. They're giving it access to the alphabet agencies. They're giving it access to the government. Now, what does that tell you, of course, where you could have a society where those who have access to these higher long language models, these AI software that is just light years ahead of everything else, and then everyone else in the public, all the plebeians, can have access to a more downgraded version. Okay, now you have a real bifurcated. Now you have something out of like feudal Europe, right? And so, now you've got humanoids too. There's a clip I can show you here of over in Pakistan. I guess I won't show. No worries. But basically, there's a clip. It's been shared on X where it's a bunch of workers in Pakistan where they're wearing the like a headset and they're wearing stuff on their body because right now the AI is learning all the subtle movements of their hands, how they're moving their face when they're building or working on something or doing some type of clothing artifact. So it's learning, it's training it. And so you're going to have the rise of more solopreneurs. If you're not familiar, it's just a solo entrepreneur. Like, for example, I'm an entrepreneur. I don't want to have any employees. I don't want to have to deal with politics. I don't want to have to deal with drama or any of this stuff. I want it where I can be anywhere in the world. I can do my job, and I have 1,000 assistants all working for me. That is the direction of things. We're going to see. There's actually a guy in Silicon Valley. His name is Naval Ravikant. He talked about it. We went from we entered the Industrial Revolution around the mid 1700s. It really peaked probably going into 1800, et cetera. We went from being artisans or small business owners. Obviously, society was very agrarian. To then it turned into more corporate in nature. It turned into more of a you're working in the factories, et cetera. Now things are going to be going back to where people are. You're going to have a bunch of small business owners, a bunch of solopreneurs. So you're going to have maybe that attorney, for example, instead of having like a law firm and having a bunch of other lawyers working under them and legal assistants, et cetera, they're going to have it where it's a law firm and it's a bunch of AI bots that are helping to synthesize the court records or what have you, all the lingo, whatever that's in the legal world. Or it could be a podcaster like ourselves where we have a bunch of assistants. Hey, go find guests that fit, my general thesis here of my mentality. Go look for them. Go sniff them out. And then also send emails to all these people. And if they're down, book it in my schedule. I don't want to have to deal with this. Just you take care of it. Do all that stuff. That's the direction we're going to see. Things are going to get more localized. And so, again, a lot of people do not like AI. They will give pushback to it. And trust me, I like the old school stuff. I like hands-on stuff, being outside, being in nature. I love that. But we have to learn to work with these tools because if we don't, it's going to be used against us. And it's just really incumbent upon people. So I highly recommend people just familiarize yourself with it. And I'll talk about some other things, but I'll stop talking and let you chime in if you'd like.
Well, I want to take this to the next level, real time. I've been sharing my own personal experience as a modern art gonzo journalist. That's what I do. I don't talk about what's going on here, there, that I'm not actually. I'm talking about like it's a video diary of my life, and so just like behind me is a diary of my world on canvas. When I ended up here after escaping China, I needed help. And so people started sending me donations. That's how my show is taken care of, is through donations. Well, I've been receiving donations through Venmo. And a couple months ago, Venmo, I don't know what they did, but it doesn't allow me to access the money. and I've gotten a couple donations, but I haven't been able to access it. And so I've contacted Venmo, and inevitably what they do is they outsource. And so whenever I say, where are you guys? And they're like, well, we're global. So it's like, okay, so we're dealing with people who don't understand that it's flat Earth, but okay. And then, of course, they're trying to hide, but you could tell in the accent that they're from India. And okay, whatever, obviously we're not dealing with people in the United States, but Venmo, the CEO is actually in New York. It's a New York company. The problem that I'm having with these people is like they don't empower them to find solutions. They're always reading scripts. So I'm dealing with different people all the time. Eventually, I'm like sometimes on the phone with them for 2 hours. I've been recording the conversations now because I'm like, this is hilarious. People have to see these people. So this is the deal. There's $105 in Venmo, right? And so I'm like, okay, listen, all I need is for you to send me the email so that I can actually like access the account because it's not allowing me. One of the people that work there actually admitted that there was a problem at Venmo, that they haven't let their customers know. There was some kind of glitch in the system. There's a technical problem, but they're not letting their customers know. Now, I'm the anomaly. I don't have a cell phone. By design, I choose not to have a cell phone. People are like, oh, we'll buy you a cell phone. No, I learned when I contacted the CEO of T-Mobile, Mike Sievert, that that's a weapon system. And people learned it in Lebanon when the pagers went off and when Bibi Netanyahu had all the AIPAC bought and paid for politicians in Israel. And he said, oh, I bet you a lot of you have in your pocket something that's made in Israel. And that was like a subtle warning to them that when we want to, we will blow your dick off. And yeah, that's a weapon. And I don't want it because they could track and trace you and all that stuff. And I'm not doing anything illegal, but the truth has become illegal. And yeah, I do get death threats. So I don't need to be track and traced. Not for $105, So anyway, but now I'm like, okay, so if they're keeping my $105 and they're keeping a lot of other people's, because I had Brandon Kroll on my show and he says, yeah, they've had my money since January. So I'm like, okay, so we're coming into a time where the petrodollar's dying, banks are about to collapse. So all these people pretty soon are going to be going through what I'm going through. So that's what I do. I keep this and I'm like warning you people that what they're doing is they're hiring people to keep you on the phone. I don't know how much they pay these people, but basically they just read from a script. They're like, well, sir, I can't do a good Indian accent. But they're like, well, this is what you do. After I tell them, hey, listen, I don't have a phone. Well, we'll send you a message to your phone. I'm like, I've already told you like 10 times I don't have a phone. So that doesn't even register with people. Like they can't believe that there's people on earth who like don't have cell phones. Not
I have a solution for you, by the way, but please continue. I have a solution that I want to share, but please continue.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, I definitely need a solution because their solution is they're going to send me a text message. I'm like, the problem is I had my phone stolen. Every time I tried to access my account, the person who stole my phone kept getting the 4-digit code and then got access to my Telegram, to my WhatsApp, and then started contacting all my contacts and asking them, oh, please send me Bitcoin or send me money. So I don't know how many people this guy scammed, but I had like a lot of contacts. And this guy was running around asking everybody for money because they sent the code to the thief and the thief was able to access my account. So that's why that dual verification doesn't work. Or people can hack you and people can get your access. So my Telegram channel, my WhatsApp, all that stuff is being controlled by somebody else that's not me. But anyway, so then their solution is, I'm like, can you just put me through to a supervisor, please? Because a supervisor should be able to help this. They don't have supervisors anymore. I remember when I used to work, I was like the supervisor or the manager, and my job was like problem solving. But they don't give people the opportunity to problem solve anymore because the supervisor would be able to solve the problem if they made the call. I'm like, I don't have a call, but if you have a phone, we're not allowed to use our personal phone. I'm like, okay, so then there must be a supervisor there that has a landline or something that's a corporate phone. You can use that corporate phone. We could do a 3-way phone call. We could solve this problem. They can't do it. So what ends up happening is this is the solution. Fly back to the United States. I'm in a remote part of the world, which would require me to like climb down a mountain, go ahead and go to a 5.5 hour train ride, then a bus ride to a plane transfer. It would cost me thousands of dollars to get back to the United States so that I can then get one of their debit cards and then fly back. So it would cost me like probably $15,000 to get $105.
Well,
And
if I
I'm
might,
telling these people, so this is your solution? I'm like, and they're like, yes, sir, that's the solution. I'm like, do you realize how stupid that is? Like, to get $105, I have to spend over 10,000. But this is what they're hiring now. So what I'm trying to say is like, okay, so we're gonna get rid of these useless eaters who really think that a solution is spending $10,000 to get $100, and they say it like yeah, that's the solution. AI will get rid of that, but AI will also make it so that you just that they keep your money, and that's what I see that they're doing, because they're going to make it so that you're going to be talking to an AI. The AI is going to be programmed just like these useless eaters to follow the script, and AI is never going to solve it for you, and they're just going to keep the money, and that's what's going to start happening with people in the banks. Mark my words, they're going to keep your money, people. You're not going to get it.
well, I thought I'd add as it relates to the verification text or call what I've been doing, and I don't know if this will resolve your dilemma, but instead of giving my phone number out in some instances, there are different websites where for each phone verification, it's like 2 cents or 5 cents or 10 cents or something like that. So if let's say you're creating a YouTube account or you're creating or you need to confirm something, you need your number, you can go buy just a temporary number that you need only when you need. You can look into it. There's different websites on there, so you don't even need a phone. It'll produce a number like you start an account, and it's like a you pay as you go kind of thing. And whenever there is a verification text that you need authorized from Venmo or what have you, you can then use that instead of using a phone. So I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know if that will solve your thing, but I think there's going to be more solutions. Yes, they're to your point, they're going to be trying to do different things to make it more challenging to do things that aren't aligned with what they want. But I think that human ingenuity, people are going to come up with different ideas to go around it. Just like there are hackers, there are ethical hackers. There's the black web, yeah, the dark web or whatever. I mean, there's different things, but I get where you're coming from. I'm sorry that you're having to deal with that because that's messed up. And um, yeah, I think there's going to be a solution there. And if I also might add, I was going to say this towards the end, but I'll just say it here real quick. Um, since we're talking about AI here, we can pretty much do just about anything today. I don't want to say anything, but you could do just pretty much. I mean, it's actually pretty remarkable when you stop and think about it. You can learn pretty much any skill from YouTube or courses on Udemy that are like pennies on the dollar. Obviously, university has been completely. I mean, unless you're going into medicine or law and you have to have some degree or what. I mean, even actually, technically, medicine you don't even need to have a. I don't think you need a bachelor's degree. You just need to go into get pass the entrance into med school and take the bar. Technically, you don't even need to go to law school, but you get where I'm coming from. So with the exception of certain things, you can learn really any skill set today. And now you have AI where you could be even smarter than some banker, if you will. Fun fact I just learned today: BRICS the term was derived from a Goldman Sachs banker. So that's not a globalist thing there.
And it was set up. That's why I don't trust bricks either.
Yeah,
That's why when
yeah,
you were saying earlier that this whole thing is manufactured and designed
yeah.
to make it seem, because they knew that the petrodollar had a limited life, and when they started the Federal Reserve, they knew that that was just basically a way of fleecing people. What they keep doing is those who have are like just hoarding all the stuff, and they're using the population as their slaves. It's colonial capitalism. But yeah, it's they're just gathering more and more and leaving people with less and less. And so they knew this was going to happen. Look what's happening right now. People are losing their houses, they're losing their jobs, they're losing everything. And these people who have are so greedy. I mean, like, you have $1 billion. Why do you want more? It's bizarre.
Well, I
They're going for trillionaires now.
I surmise there's something else either controlling them or influencing that perhaps not of this world. You mentioned about a lot of people, right, facing challenging times. I mean, a lot of people are selling plasma. People are moving, having to rent rooms from people, or Uber, DoorDash, I mean, et cetera, just to make ends meet. I mean, a lot of people, a lot of Americans, and and people looking for jobs. I mean, people are having a hard time, as we all know, trying to find work, even with Ivy League degrees. I mean, I know of somebody. Actually, I was talking to what's his name? I'm blanking on his name right now. His I don't know, his daughter or daughter's friend got a bachelor's from an Ivy League program, went back, got a master's from an Ivy League program, is still looking for work. So my thoughts on this, and this is kind of the more white pill take on what's going on in the world, is because you can pretty much learn anything in today's age, you can monetize off of it. And I would implore people, and I get not everyone has the luxury of becoming self-employed, but creating content, I think, is one of the best ways to do it. And if I might just add a thought experiment here. Let's say you were a young guy, came from a disenfranchised background, and you wanted to work in high finance. Let's say you wanted to be an investment banker. Okay, you don't have the connections, you don't have the pedigree, et cetera, right? So what would you do? What would my advice be to that person? Well, my advice be to that person is go on AI, learn everything you can about investment banking, watch videos on it, learn. I mean, there's so much information online. Okay, then what you do is start creating content around that. Now, whether you do a podcast or you talk to investment bankers or people in the industry, or you write about it on X, et cetera. Now, some people might say, well, you don't have any experience. Why are you going to be writing about something as an authority? You don't write it as an authority. You write it as somebody who is curating that information. You're not. I have no desire to be an investment banker. I'm just using this as an example. But I could write a book about investment banking, what we call like an edited book, and I don't need to be some expert on it. I'm just the guy simply curating the information, and I can make money from it. The guy who wrote this book, the Almanac of Naval Ravikant. This is actually a really great book. I strongly recommend it. Okay, so the guy, younger guy, is probably my age more or less. He wrote this. He's probably made a fortune off this book. What did he do? Okay, he didn't originate these ideas. He curated the information from Naval's X account, formerly Twitter, of course, and other websites, and he put it into a book. And he's made a nice. I mean, it's a great book, but he's made a lot of money from it. So what I'm saying is, you can learn a lot of skills, create content around it, and then if you want to get that investment banking job and you're really going to want to go work for somebody, well, all those connections, all that audience that you've built, there's power, right, in having an audience. Invariably, that will lead to that job opportunity. But I think given today, we don't, even if you got a job and you're looking for a job, who knows how long that'll even last, is what I'm getting at. So I'd say start learning the AI now. Start learning it, start creating content, or start some type of, just do what you can to sustain yourself and then do it. So that's kind of the white pill stuff. I just want to mention that in today's age, there's almost no excuse. We have everything at our disposal now. Now I get it. That's kind of overly simplifying it, but I just wanted to share that because I know a lot of people are struggling out there, and I do think there's hope, and there's things that you can do. So
Now, I I agree with what you're saying, and I realize that. So there's a certain battle going on right now, and I feel it because I'm living through it. This spiritual battle, where I'm trying real hard not to compromise my integrity. I'm trying to stay in the light of truth, but I'm noticing it's getting harder and harder to do that because being honest doesn't pay, doesn't make you friends. Nobody wants to. If you've ever had a girlfriend and going out to dinner with reservations and she looks at you and she says, "How do I look at this?" I mean, that's like the dun dun dun, in the movie. It's like, uh-oh, this is going to get serious. She may look fantastic, but if she doesn't, you're in trouble, So do you tell the truth or not? And that's happening in this lifetime now because I've gotten blacklisted from shows and from people who, you and I have both interviewed and stuff like that. They don't want to hear the truth, especially if the truth has to do with the J word, the Jews. I mean, you're not allowed to talk about that. So that makes you a toxic person, which is really weird because it's like, man, are we allowed to talk about white people? Are we allowed to talk about Chinese people? Are we allowed to talk about black people? Yeah, I don't see any anti-speaking bad about black laws. Can we start having some anti-speaking bad about white people laws? What is it with the Jews that you can't say anything about? I mean, are people not noticing that that's kind of strange? I don't see any laws saying you can't say stuff about Roman Catholics or Christians, So Anyway, the other thing is artificial intelligence, from what I understand, is it's demonic. It's interdimensional beings. They have these machines that have to be kept completely like at a weather that's like out. It's super cold, and that's why it's sucking up so much water and so much energy. They need four nuclear power plants in order to house these data centers and stuff. And they're actually sacrificing human lives for sake of the artificial intelligence. That's evil. And what's weird too is that Sam Altman said that in the future, you're going to have to pay for your intelligence. Just like you have a smart meter on your home, which is also totally like evil. You want information, AI will feed it to you. You'll have a chip in your head, and it'll charge you for the information. So yeah, you could be born the biggest retard with the lowest IQ, but if you've got the money and your social credit score is good too, because that's the other thing. If you're not playing by the rules, not smoking, not having sex, not drinking wine, just playing by the rules, then you can have all the knowledge. But God forbid you want to have a cigarette. Oh, you become a retard, you know? It's like, yeah, that's AI and that's our reality, and I don't want any part of that. So I'm suffering the consequences because, like I said, it's very difficult for me to even like have a relationship, not just with the woman, but with anybody, because the moment that they say, "Oh, you don't have a phone," sorry, you don't have a Facebook, can't find you on WhatsApp, you're not on Telegram, sorry, can't deal with you. It's like, whoa, what happened to the face to face? What happened to the interpersonal? People have forgotten what it's like to be real. And I'm struggling to be real, man. I'm just trying to be real. But
Mhm.
everybody's fake. I sit around in restaurants and I see couples. They're not even talking. I'm like, what kind of a date is this? I see people on the bus or walking around and they're like, I'm
Yep.
like, wow, you're faking your happiness. You're making pretend that you're having a wonderful life. Meanwhile, your life is shit. Why not just enjoy your life? Like, smell the flowers, listen to the birds sing, look up at the sun, you know? No, they're all walking around like slaves. It's just really weird. So, I don't know. I've chosen this life, but I know I would be much better off with AI and a cell phone and WhatsApp and Tinder. Oh my God, Tinder's like great. I'm asking everybody. Apparently, all you got to do is just swipe right, and next thing you know, bada bing, bada boom, bada bang, swoosh, you're getting laid. It's like, whoa, what happened to the romance? You know?
Yeah, well, the dating apps are, I think, by design, intended to not enable dating, so to speak. I actually stopped using those platforms because, believe it or not, I just got tired of seeing the characters on there. And yeah, it's. I mean, I think that's part of that design. I think since the 60s. I mean, you look at, I mean, that was another topic that I actually took notes on. The fertility rate. I mean, just dropping, right? No one's having families. I'm in my 30s. I mean, I've got people in my peer group who are married, and some of them have kids, but there's also a lot of people who are not. I used to live in Orange County. I mean, Newport Beach of all places, and a lot of single people, a lot of single people, and yeah, relationships are kind of like this revolving door. It's like people go through people like they're changing clothing. I do think once we get maybe into the 2030s after this reset or whatever that's going on, people are going to get back to a more traditional society. I'll use for an example, our grandparents' generation, great grandparents, who, depending on your age, uh, having gone through the depression, people became, of course, more conservative. Now, there's other things going on today that are indicating that we're maybe headed in that direction, of course. But I think people are going to be more going to go back to more traditional values. There's going to be a pushback against some of the technology out there. But I think that once we get over this hump, I think right now, and if I might share kind of my macro thesis here, I guess I didn't really touch on that, is I would say that we're obviously at a stage where there is great change going on. I hear a lot about I was just talking to somebody the other day, this 80-year war cycle I think we're in. And fourth turning, fill in the blank, a lot of change going on socially, politically, economically. And I think that things are going to really precipitate. in around 2030. I mean, pun intended with the whole agenda 2030 thing. I actually think right now we are in a global war. I've had other people on my show postulate that we're not in a global war, but I would say no, we are. It's other forms of warfare, like fourth generation warfare, like terrorism, things of that nature. Fifth generation pertaining to like information, war on the mind, social media. And so, not that they didn't have those things in other wars, they certainly did. But I think for your general person, particularly in the West, they think of a global war as in kinetic warfare, tanks and this and that. And I think there's a hype.
This is also economic warfare. A lot of people not
Yeah.
realizing everything that's happening right now is economic. And so yeah, it's psychological warfare. They're pulling out all the stops. I mean, this is like an amazing time to be alive. Those who survive this are going to be like superhuman because we're getting attacked this is like a poly crisis is what's going
Yes.
on. That's why so many people are losing their minds. You'll notice that people are on edge, man. You say the wrong thing and they'll snap. So, holy cow! I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
No,
I
no. Yeah.
also
Yeah.
want you to share a lot of the clips that you've got, including the one that you were
Yeah.
talking about with AI and the Pakistanis and stuff like that. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I've got time.
You
I
want to show
was
it right now? I mean, I can show it later if you'd like, or I can show it right now. It's up to you. No.
well. Finish your thought if I didn't
Okay. Okay.
disturb,
Okay. Yeah. No.
because you were talking about
So
don't see this
yeah,
as
just
like
kind of
more
macro. Sure.
generation, more kinetic.
We
That's where I.
Yes, yes. I think we're working towards that. I was just speaking with Simon Hunt, which if you're not acquainted with him, he's a very interesting guy. He's actually in Dubai. He says Dubai's a ghost town right now. Understandably, I mean the taxi. Yeah, one of the taxi guys that he had was making, I think, like maybe like $1,200 a day, and then now he'd be lucky if he makes a few $100s a day. Okay, granted, for some people in the world that's a lot of money, but over, I mean, he says it's a ghost town. It's an absolute ghost town. Pun intended, or excuse me, not pun intended. On a side note, you might be able to get some really good cheap rates if you want to go to Dubai right now, though you may not be able to leave if things.
This is the weird thing about what's going on in Dubai.
Yeah.
The people that are left behind are the people that can't escape.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I know a lot of people also who are in Dubai who are working there. They can't get out because everybody who could get out paid top dollar to get out. So now it's a ghost town that's soon going to be running out of everything. So the other thing is you can go to Dubai right now, and if you want a Ferrari, you can get one because these wealthy people they left their Ferraris behind with the keys and the ignition, and they're just gathering dust right now. Thing is, though, yeah, you'll have a Ferrari, but there's no gas to drive it in, and even they had to leave their yachts behind because they were like, no, there's no fuel, and you can't leave with the yachts. So it's this bizarre ghost town with Ferraris and yachts that that what I'm trying to say is like the material wealth means nothing
Yeah.
because you can't eat that and you can't survive with it. And these people that are left behind are like, wow, we are in like a castle, but there's no food and water and there's no electric. So what do we do? You know, that's the reality. It's getting really weird, man. I mean, people are,
Yeah.
that's why I said this is a spiritual battle. The material
Well,
wealth is found out for sure.
and I think that if things ever do arise where there's a total breakdown, the people who will be at the very top of the social strata, it'll be an inverse. Right now, right? It's like the white collar professionals, although there's blue collar people making great money, right? If you're a plumber, if you own a plumbing business or you're in HVAC, et cetera. But we'll just for the simple sake, white collar, but I tell you what, right? If anything happens, it's going to be the blue collar people. It's going to be people who know how to repair things. They can fix little odd. It's going to be the handyman, right? He's going to be at the top of the social strata. And I'll use an example. When I was working on a master's, in history, I was covering the Operation Barbarossa, and obviously the Nazi invasion into the Soviet Union and in the satellite countries around there. And one of the things that I read, which was really interesting, is the partisan movement that existed, right? Because when the Nazis invaded, they did like a blitzkrieg, and it just completely threw the Soviets off guard. And a lot of them were stranded, and a lot of people in the people peasants, et cetera, had to figure out for themselves whether we can partisans, right, fighters. And what's interesting is the people that were the white collar people, the lawyers, the intellectual, the intelligentsia, etc. They were more at the bottom rung of these groups that were in the forest fighting. And it was the person who maybe didn't really have much of an education. He could barely read or write, and he came to the top because he knew how to tinker. He knew how to do different things. He knew how to ride a horse. He knew to do different things, etc. He also was maybe more brazen, more willing to take risks, go get that food that we need to survive another week or two. And which is interesting is you ended up having this system where the daughters of the intelligentsia were marrying those of lower social strata. It actually created some rift because they couldn't stand to see their daughter hook up with some guy who was like a nobody pre-war, and now he's leading. I'll use the example of Defiant. The group. They obviously made a movie about it. It was literally with Daniel Craig, right? The Defiant, and how actually the main guy, when the war ended, he ended up becoming just a taxi driver. I mean, just like, but he was in charge of several hundred people, and so it's very interesting because when I was reading, I'm seeing similarities in, if we ever do have something like that, it's going to be people who are very handy, who know how to do and tinker with different things. It's not going to be the people who have just been sequestered and they don't know how to do this. They don't know, and so yeah. But back to yeah, what we were getting at. Yeah, Dubai, and then this conflict. I think they're. I think I lean more towards there being a ground invasion, and I don't think a lot of people, particularly in America, are aware that this is pretty serious. Especially with the shortages, we obviously saw the emergency. I don't know if the emergency is still going on in the Philippines. I presume it is, but that going on. We saw what's gone on over in Australia and in other parts of the world. Supply shocks, shortages, and right now is the growing season. And so while people may have an abundance of food right now, it may not be around next season. The nitrogen, the different fertilizers, the ammonia. I mean, there's so many different commodities and things that people use that that are going to be in short supply, and that are. And prices going up and diesel going up, so probably if you want to buy that expensive item or just items in general, probably buy it now as opposed to maybe waiting a few weeks even, right? Because you're going to lock in today's prices. I mean, for the first time, I filled up on fuel for my vehicle and have been buying extra food. And some people were thinking, no, this guy's kind of nuts. Like, probably already think I'm some conspiratorial nut or whatever. But like, no, I'm just going to stock it up just because, like, I don't know. I don't know. And people were fighting each other over toilet paper. Imagine what people are going to do when, if you're in a big city and the grocer is out of food because I don't know, something happened. Maybe the grid is something. There was a report that was put out by the IEA, and I have it up here. It was the International Energy Association or something like that. They released something. I'm trying to find it here on my screen about shocks as far as the grid goes, the electrical grid and other things. Gosh, I just had it up, and so I mean they're already talking about it, and so I'm trying to see if I can find it here, but yeah, I think I'm not trying to sound all doom and gloom. I mean, we're going to get through it, but just being prudent, just being prepared.
Well, I don't know. Right now, I know that countries like China and Russia, I think, will fare pretty well because they've already been under the sanctions, and what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. The United States, the reason why I think it's in peril is because there's been so much corruption, and everything has been hidden with the manipulation of the dollar and the false belief that it's actually worth something. So when people realize, like what happened in 2008, they're going to be like, wow, we really don't own our houses. This money is
Yeah,
really fake. And I think that's going to be the United States has been lulled by the media, by all the liars. They've normalized lies. And it saddens me. I wish this weren't the case. But yeah, you're living an illusion. You're not the safest place. I've had people show up to Georgia. They're like, wow, this is amazing. Like, you can actually, a single girl can walk around a park at 3 or 4 or 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning by herself, and she doesn't have to worry about getting raped. you can, as a man, walk through a park at night and not have to worry about getting mugged. And what I notice that's different between here and the United States is that there is street justice here. So if a woman's getting raped, the people aren't going to whip out their cell phone like they do in New York when a woman's getting raped on the like on the
Subway.
platform, and they're filming her getting raped, and nobody helps her. Over here, they'll kick your ass, like they'll beat you up, and then they'll get rid of you. And by the time the police come, they're like, "What happened here?" Nothing. Cops like, "All right, as long as everything's okay," you know. That's how it is here. They take care of the pedophiles, you know, and in the United States, they protect the pedophiles, and it's because nobody does anything about it. Nobody on the Epstein list has been held accountable. And then what's really weird is I've seen these videos of people. Some guy went to the library because his printer wasn't working, and he started printing out articles about the genocide that's happening in Lebanon, in Palestine, and Gaza. The library attendant called the police because the guy was printing out articles about the genocide in Israel. So the police officer showed up and started questioning the guy. Why are you doing that? Of course, it was a black police officer. The DEI hires, and it's nothing against blacks or anything like that. It's just like, come on, people. So you're gonna be harassing a guy because he's printing out articles at a library while there's literally people that are pedophiles, that there's evidence and stuff, and you're not arresting a single one of them. It blows my mind. And then after that, they hired two police officers to tail him so they could find where he lived. This was in Michigan. So that's three police officers, three police vehicles, while people's houses are being broken into, while people are being mugged, robbed, raped, murdered. But God forbid you should even know that those who call themselves Jews but are not are of the synagogue of Satan, or those who claim to be the state of Israel, which is all fake. Everything is fake. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like, man, I don't want to live in this lie that I'm being forced to live in. If I want to go on certain shows, I got to play the game. I got to live the lie, and I'm not going to do it. And it's just it's getting annoying, Christian. It really is. And AI is programmed by the same people that are programming the minds of human beings. That's why when you ask artificial intelligence for something, it usually gives you some bullshit Sam Altman reply. You can't ask AI the truth about Jews. It won't. And I'm not meaning to pick on Jews, by the way. Everybody's like, oh, Victor, you'd be much better off if you just stopped talking about the Jews. It's like, okay. It turns out I found out that it's not really the Jews, it's the Irish. Because the first prime minister of Israel was an Irishman who happened to be an Irish Jew. And then his son also became prime minister of Israel. So for anybody who's got me blacklisted and for anybody who thinks I'm anti-Semitic, I'm not. It's not the Jews. It's the Irish, okay? It's all the Irish's fault. And that's fine. You could say that. There's no anti-Irish laws.
Yeah, it's people have been more vocal about it these days, and I'll delineate. I know a lot of people say it's the tiny hats, and that's the code word that I picked up from another person. But I would say that you have a small. I would say the leadership clique that postulate or that masquerades as this faith, and certainly do not hold those values. And so I think that's that Sabbatean Frankistel. And I actually did a deep dive with Makia Freeman. I don't know how familiar you are with him, but he dived into it, which was interesting. And so it's people are more vocal. They're talking about it more. And then what was I going to mention about? I'm looking at my notes here that I was going to reference. A lot of societal stuff going on. Well, you saw that guy running for governor over in Florida, he's been very vocal that he is anti-Zionist. I mean, obviously, understandably so. The establishment loathes him, and his last name is Fisher. First name eludes me, but yeah, no, you're seeing it a lot more with I would say the younger generations, and yeah. So while we are facing this challenge here with the cabal, if you will, I do see more people waking up thanks to platforms. I mean, look, if I wasn't on X, and I'm not saying everything on X is perfect by any means, um, I would not be exposed to nearly. I wouldn't be exposed to a lot of ideas, even if there's an inaccurate. And I'll say that I'm sure my mental model of things there are inaccuracies to it. I'm sure I'll learn something else and I'll completely change the way I look at things. But I will say that yours and I is probably a better working. It is a better working model than the one that's put out there. And clips. I know we mentioned about that earlier. Would you like me to share some
Yeah,
clips?
man. Let's do that. Let's
Okay.
dive into clips. That's always
Okay.
fun. Thank you for
Oh,
preparing clips for
yeah.
the show too.
Yeah, yeah,
I love
yeah.
clips.
Absolutely. It's a new thing I've been doing, but I've had to be careful because it'll get flagged for copywriting. So I'm trying to pick clips where, you know, the powers that be aren't going to be like, well, this is you're not supposed to be. So here, let me. And this shows you how often I use Zoom. Okay, so can you see Maria?
Yes, I can
Okay,
see
so
it.
okay, so
Maria
so this
Abram.
yes, and then I'll give a narrative of it after for those in the car driving or they can't watch it. But this ties in with the power structure, right? And Trump here. I thought
Before
I'd
you
share
play
this here.
that, before you, oh, Christian, we can't
Yeah,
hear the volume. We can't hear it. I don't know if you have the volume turned down.
I
Okay.
have it all the way turned up. You can't hear it. You guys can't hear this.
No. Are
Okay,
you
that's
using,
okay.
wait a minute, because
I have it turned
speaker,
up all the way. I haven't done it on Zoom before. It's okay. We don't.
hold on,
I
because
can just I'll just
I
I'll just
want you to,
verbalize it. Let me just
no, I want you to show it. Let's figure it out. Uh, the audio, are you using speakers or are you using microphone?
I have a sound mixer that I have plugged into my headphones. What I can do is I'll just play it and I'll just relay to you what she's saying. So she's basically talking to the guy driving, saying that Trump is a magician of the highest order, and he's there to serve an agenda and a purpose. And it's actually pretty interesting if you watch here. So I'll just stop it right there here. But
I
you,
I played
you
that clip on my channel. I've played that for those
you
who
saw that one?
watch. Yeah,
Yeah.
and what's interesting is again with the misinformation and disinformation, we're just having an unscripted conversation here. The people
Hmm.
who try to discredit me, and as soon as you start getting over the target, Christian, I'm sure they will start discrediting you as well and claiming that, hey, listen, you're connected to Abramovich somehow. Because of my artwork, somehow people claim that I'm not only connected to Maria Abramovic, whom I've never met, I've heard of her, but also because my artwork was exhibited at the Museum of Modern Art in New York. Checked out this logic, how people like brazenly, like you can write any, that's what I'm saying, like you can write anything now. It's no holds barred. Slander is like
Hmm.
not even a thing anymore because they know that you'd have to pay a lot of money to lawyers to sue, and it's very hard to. So I mean, they say, so this is the logic now that people are putting out in Substack articles and out in public about me, that I am related to Epstein and have been, connected to Epstein because my art was at the Museum of Modern Art in New York, and Epstein and people who were on Epstein's Island have also been to the Museum of Modern Art in New York. And somehow that connects us. Of course, the title is Victor Hugo's connection to Jeffrey Epstein, and then down in the very like next to bottom of the article is, oh, and the connection is Victor Hugo and Epstein, and these guys all went to. So that's like holy cow. So that means I'm connected to like I don't know Jeffrey Dahmer because I live on Earth and he lived on Earth too. So this is the logic now that's going on with people who claim to be like serious people. By the way, this is what's interesting about that. Susan Bradford, who's been on my show, And then because she outed Jeff Renz as being part of the Illuminati on my
Hmm.
show, I don't tell people what to say. She said it. She's like, "Oh, Jeff Renz is an Illuminati." And then Jeff Renz saw the show and he got upset at her for exposing him on my show. So he used to sell her books on his channel. So he took that down because he was upset at her. So she sends me the most pathetic email. "Oh, Victor, please, I'm begging you." Quite literally, I've shared it with the audience. It was pathetic. "I'm begging you. I went on your show and I said something about Jeff Renz that I shouldn't have said. And now he's mad at me and he took away, my ability to grift on his channel. So can you please take down the show that we did together?" First of all, this is a live show, Christian, and people download this show. So I told her, I said, "Listen, it doesn't matter if I take it down. People have already downloaded it and shared it. And so, like, it doesn't matter. It's out there." And so then she got mad at me because I didn't censor her. And so then she went on this whole campaign now that I am connected to Epstein and that I'm a pedophile and all this other stuff. I'm like, oh, yeah, and the Marina Abramovic, I'm connected to her too. I'm like, how does this even work? And yet she goes on SGT Report, Jeffrey Prather's show, which you and I have both had him on the show, and she just spreads these lies. And then people are like, "Oh, well, Susan Bradford, she's a quintessential researcher. She's impeccable with her research and information and everything. Everything she says, you should take 100%." And I'm like, wow, do these people know that their reputation is essentially ruined? Because I send them emails and I was like, "Hey, Jeffrey, man, you should know that this girl, Susan Bradford, not only is being exposed by me as being a liar, but Sarah Westall also sent her a letter saying, 'Hey, listen, you're writing articles about me claiming that I'm connected to and it's totally not true. Please take it down or I'm going to have to sue you.'" So then I send these warnings to others because I'm like, "Hey, listen, you've been on my show. My credibility is on the line if you're coming on my show and you're having people who are just clearly full of shit on your show and lauding them as being truthful. That's not good for any of us." So we have a problem of credibility even in the alt news arena because people are spreading lies, man. Again, it's just really bad, man. It's really bad. I'm sharing this with you because, like, listen, that's what we do on this show. We talk honestly. I'm not going to beat around the bush. But yeah, I was really surprised. Not only Jeffrey Prather, but SGT Report and Jim Fetzer and all these other people. Like, don't they vet their guests before they come on the show? It's really weird.
Hmm. Yeah, you get, there's, I mean, to those that are not aware, there is a fair amount of drama, of course, in the world of podcasts, and yeah, and speaking of which, it's been interesting to see people who were formerly in good graces with people having fallen out of favor because of Trump and because of the whole thing there. You have certain people that hold the position that Trump is playing 3D chess, 5D chess, et cetera, City London, and it's been interesting just to see the rips. There were people that I was bringing on where no, everyone loved the person, then thereafter they are the antichrist, and so things have become definitely more polarized, more fractionalized, so to speak, and I think yeah, we got to do what we can there. And well, I was going to share. I was going to share the other clips, but since the audio for Zoom, Riverside, I don't have any issues. But since the hiccups for Zoom, I'm going to hold off. But I wanted to circle back to, I could share an article. This one's from Activist Post. I don't know what your thoughts are on them, but I thought I'd share this. I was reading this before hopping on here. They gave a segment pertaining to South Korea and the shortages going on. The title is "A Shortage of Nearly Everything is Coming If the War Does Not End Soon in South Korea. People are already panic buying trash bags." I don't know if you came across that, but I thought I'd read and share that. And this is from, by the way, and they're taking an excerpt from CNN. So CNN of all platforms, even they're starting to talk about shortages. So in the article, it's in South Korea, where people have been panic buying trash bags. The government has encouraged event organizers to minimize use of disposable items. Taiwan has started a hotline for manufacturers that have run out of plastic, while its rice farmers told local media they may hike prices because they can't get vacuum sealed bags. In Japan, the oil crisis has sparked fears that patients with chronic kidney failure won't be able to get treatment due to a lack of plastic medical tubes used in hemodialysis. Malaysian glove manufacturers say a dearth of petroleum byproduct needed to make rubber latex is threatening global supplies of medical gloves. This spills into everything very, very quickly. Beer, noodles, chips, toys, cosmetics, said so and so. It's just interesting how, again, I mentioned with Makia Freeman, I'm getting more and more of those pre-COVID vibes, right? And this is going to serve as that pretext, this war to effectuate a lockdown. And I had some clips up here too of World Economic Forum people mentioning that. I'm blanking out on one of their names. How we're going to have something similar to a COVID, right? And this is a great pretext, you know. And I think of the quote. Not that I'm by far from being a progressive, but the progressive who said the quote, "War is the health of a nation," Randolph Bourne. Or excuse me, war is the health of the state. This is a great pretext. I mean, look at what they're doing in Germany, right? If you're 17 to 45 and they want to keep track of you. And now over here in the States, starting in December, they're going to automatically do selective service for 18 to 25-year-olds. Obviously, they've raised the enlistment age up to 42. It's going to be interesting. And even people who are on IRR, I got out of the Navy. In May. It'll be 7 years here. I don't know how long the IRR lasts, that individual ready reserve, but that'll be interesting if they want to try and exercise that. The level of conscientious objectors having been arisen from a lot of people reaching out to these nonprofits. A lot of young people are aware of it. Well, obviously, we saw what happened with the Ford, right? The USS Ford. And I think they're in for a wild ride. Meanwhile, you have countries like Saudi Arabia encouraging and pledging capital and resources to just do a complete, punch to Iran, just completely knock them out. I mean, things are heating up. Things are heating up,
Hey, I
and
have a suggestion so that we can actually show the clips. If you
yeah,
clip and paste in the chat section, do you see at the
yeah, I see the
bottom
chat. You want to
this
drop it in
chat?
there? How would you?
You send me the links because it looks like you've
Sure.
got links set up there. If you
Yeah.
send me the link, I'll be able
Yep.
to say the links
Let
for
me pull it
the
up here
volume,
real quick.
and you can comment on
I'm
that.
going
And
to do
while you're
copy
doing,
link,
yeah, and while you're
share.
doing that,
Okay, so I'll do each one.
audience know the natural progression of this plastics and rubber stuff. There's going to be an increase in sexually transmitted diseases. So, for
Mm,
example, super herpes Russ Winter will become like super duper herpes Russ Winter because the thing is, you will not have condoms anymore. Forget about trash bags. Let's talk about condoms. And with everybody right now being super sexualized culture, that's another thing that is going to start increasing. I know this sounds strange, but yeah, that's the reality of what we're doing. So wrap that rascal if you haven't already. All right, I'm going to start playing some of these clips
hmm.
here that Christian
Okay.
is sending, and as he's sending it, and then I'll share
Hmm.
that with the audience here. So let's check this out. I'm going to share screen with everybody, and yeah, let's check out these clips because we
Hmm.
promised you clips, and you're going to get clips. So Donald Trump, the magician. Here is
Mm,
our favorite Marina Abramovic. Let
hmm.
me bring this.
That the Trump is the best thing happened ever to us because she believed, not her, but the entire population of this Nordic magician, that he is the magician of the highest order, that he is there in his irrational mind to create confusion in order that the human being can find new order. And it's not so stupid thinking about this in that way. It's completely turning things upside down. Because since Trump is around, things are changing.
Donald Trump was born June 14th, the magician. Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, what'd you think of that picture that he posted?
Oh yeah, the one of depicting him in Christ or something like that. Is that what you're referencing? Here, let me make the screen full size because yeah. I mean that just further corroborates my take on him, and I suspect that of many others. his job was to sell the people on this anti-establishment narrative, and I think he did a good job on it. Now it's obviously changing, and you know, I really I lean towards this, and maybe my viewpoint will change, but I think when people vote, you are giving consent to the system. I mean, so someone made a post and I really liked it. It was voting is the equivalent of is the adult version of writing a letter to Santa Claus.
That's
And I think
true.
that and I think that if people just like if everybody were to just you know what I'm going to sit this one out. I'm not going to vote on midterms. No one's voting. You stop feeding into the matrix. You stop feeding into it. Just stop voting. Just recognize what it is. I mean, it's a joke. It's Jonestown. You know.
I'm going to
So
share the next video here and get your
okay,
comment on this. Let me know if you can see the screen here.
I can
Can you
see it.
see
Yeah.
it? Okay,
Hmm.
great. So here we go. This is prices will double or triple in a 2 week time frame. If you're able, get to the store, stock up all you can. When was this uploaded? This was April 16th. Wow. Okay,
Yep.
so this was literally your day today. I'm already
Hmm.
Friday, April 17th. TGIF, everybody. Here we go.
Yeah.
With a warning. All right, so you can take this however you'd like to take it, but I'm here with a warning. I spoke to multiple vendors late last night, and they informed me that people don't even realize that within 2 weeks, 2 weeks, everything you buy is going to either double or triple. I'm talking about everything from paper products, um, plastic wrap, dog food, shampoo, butter, milk, virtually anything that's made with plastic or cardboard packaging, foam, basically everything. So you have 2 weeks. I'm just here to warn you.
Wow, thank you. I used to say communist TikTok, but TikTok is now owned by the Jews, so you don't see all the horrible videos anymore coming out of Palestine and Gaza. I'll tell you my perspective as a veteran American refugee looking at my country fall apart from the outside in. What was most astonishing was all the food that he was talking about is so bad for you.
Yeah.
The ramen noodles is terrible. The cereal is terrible. I mean, look at the ingredients in these things, people. It's all bad for you. Uh, yeah, I wouldn't recommend any of that stuff. Living where I am, where they're farmers, again, goes back to the fact that these people have suffered because the fall of the Soviet Union was within their lifetime. I speak to people who still remember what that's like. The buildings that I see around me are all still Soviet Union style buildings. These people had to survive with a family of three. They each got a loaf of bread that was supposed to last them 3 days. And they would have to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning to stand outside of the bakery in order to get their one loaf of bread per family of three. And they survived and they learned how. That's why the menus here and the food here, people say, oh, well, what's Georgian food like? It's salty and it's very simple. It's like bread pretty much. Their biggest dish is a kinkali or some other thing that's basically like bread, cheese, and an egg thrown in the middle. Boom. That's their signature dish here. Nothing fancy. So, but the other thing that's nice is like since they're all farmers, the vegetables are fresh. They're non-GMO. The cows are not with steroids in them or any kind of weird like stuff. They're just you see the cows walking around the streets and they're like farm raised and they just walk around and they're not huge, but they're natural. Same thing with the other kind of animals, the chickens and stuff like that. So yeah, we're not going to be suffering that kind of problem here, and we're not going to be suffering that kind of problem in Russia. And China has its own ability to make fertilizer because they never got woke and got rid of the coal like in the United States and in Europe. So
Well,
that's my take on it. Looking through the looking glass, going, my God, my poor brothers and sisters in the United States believe that to survive you have to eat ramen noodles and cereal. That stuff's gonna kill you, people.
Oh yeah, well, speaking of China, China banned nitrogen, phosphate, potassium fertilizer exports through August of 26. So that's
Yeah,
right. That's good. Yeah, yeah. And then apparently, as by June 15th, all oil stored above ground will be used up. Apparently,
yeah.
I mean that's yeah. So, and then I mean, what do you usually see around this time? Capital controls, austerity, taxes, war. I'm looking at my some other things I wanted to share. Cattle feed costs have jumped from 1,600 a month to 9,000 a month. Farm fertilizer prices have tripled, confirmed by farmers. Let's see what else. Oh, also the refineries that are for some reason they're just you know going kaboom. There was one just over in Victoria, over in Australia, one of two operational refineries in the country. It processes over 120,000 barrels a day. They don't know what happened. Obviously, sabotage. Something's going on. Even over in Mexico, there's a refinery that exploded today, I believe. So you've got these going all over the world. And even if things were on their merry way, this war wrapped up, there was no um, there was no fill in the blank going on over in on the Strait of Hormuz. It would take years and months for it to get back to where it is because of the damage that's been done. So even if everything were to be great tomorrow, it's going to take a while for everything to get up to speed where it was today. And so, and I think also part of this, you have a lot of other countries sending ships, big, large crude tankers to get oil from the U.S. I suspect that's part of one agenda to regalvanize the U.S. dollar or force countries. But yeah, I cover finance a lot with my guests, and it looks like we're headed towards the hyper stagflation is the direction that we're going at. And again, the commodities, aluminum, helium with the AI data centers, AI with the whole stock market, semiconductors. Over in Singapore right now, it's $210 a barrel. Sri Lanka, it's 286 a barrel. Okay. I think here right now in the States is about just a little under 100, at least I saw prior to the show. Um, yeah. And I think the goal is definitely to wipe out the middle class. So I think just
Your analyst didn't tell you that we're heading into a depression. And from those that I'm talking to around me, they're telling me that we're heading. Well, the United States is heading into a depression, not the rest of the world, but the United States is heading into a depression. Did
Mhm.
they not tell you that? Because yeah,
I'm
that's what's
yeah.
coming, man. It's
Why?
worse.
Mhm,
The Great Depression.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's obviously all to push to this. And then I also wanted to mention, over on, obviously before my time, but I guess over in the 70s, they had it with the license plates, right? Where certain license plate numbers could go get gas. I saw that was going on, or at least being proposed over in Australia. So, I mean, there's another wrinkle or insight as to what may arise. And then also false flags. We didn't even cover false flags. There could be some that serve the Agenda 2030 crowd, right? We need a good false flag in order to galvanize the society. So, um, that's another thing. I was actually looking at relocating back to Orange County, but actually a few weeks ago. But now, given the stuff going on, I don't know if I really care to. I'm in the middle of the state, and I'm in like a mid-sized city, but it's very agrarian where I'm at, and I'm on the cusp of the country, and I kind of like it that way. And so, yeah, I'm because of all the stuff I'm seeing put out, even the Lego videos. I've been getting a kick out of seeing the Lego videos. There's actually a clip. I mean, what a great way to hammer a point home when you have a population, i.e., in the U.S. with a sixth grade reading level, than to put it in a Lego fashion where it's palatable. I mean, everyone likes Legos. I mean, they're super popular, and you do it in a really high production way. I mean, and then you juxtapose your average American with the Iranians. I think they have a 98% literacy rate.
It's
I mean,
brilliant the way Iran is propagandizing this war. And it's the difference between what the United States has been putting out. The United States has been putting out these very bizarre videos of like sports and then missiles hitting and killing people and then like just music and it's bizarre because it's carnage
Hmm.
elevated to sports level with music. It's horrible. Whoever's designing the war propaganda for the United States has like totally lost the plot. Meanwhile, the Iranians with their Lego videos, it's it's entertaining, it's informative, it's you're getting better news by the way about what's really happening from the 2 to 3 minute Lego clips than you
Hmm.
are watching Fox News, CNN, or anything on the US mainstream news media. It's unbelievable. And the quality production of it is great. And also, they're brilliant because they're using rap music, but not rap music that is
Yeah.
not listenable. I'm not a big fan
Yeah.
of rap music, but the videos, so whatever they're using, it just goes to show you that the Persians are no fools, and that
No.
civilization is not going anywhere. And the United States forgets it's less than 300 years old, and it's just a bunch of spoiled, rotten narcissists running around, being led by psychopaths and pedophiles who think that they're number one. And the world is looking at them going, no, you're not. You're being led by the short hairs, by the tiny hats, who think that they're God's chosen people. That's what the USA is. And they're finding out really quick what it's going to be like to be all the countries that they terrorized as bullies, dropping bombs on everybody. And the other thing that you didn't mention is that the blackouts are coming. The Iranians have the ability to shut down the power grid in the United States. They're not going
Hmm.
to be throwing bombs on anybody. The moment that the internet goes down and that the kids aren't going to be able to talk to their friends on Instagram or watch TikTok videos, they're going to commit suicide. And yeah, there's going to be electrical outages and everything. So that's
Sleeper
how
cells.
that war is going to be fought. And you heard Klaus Schwab talk about that. That what's coming next is going to be bigger than COVID, and it's going to be a cyber attack. And yeah, that's coming, people. And don't forget, it's the United States that did the cyber attack on Iran with their nuclear thing. And what happened was when they did that, they left the traces behind. So yeah, Iran was able to take that information and then go, oh, okay, now we know how they did it. And they shared it with the Russians and the Chinese, and they improved upon it. So yeah, they haven't even showed the U.S. yet what they're capable of. So I'm not, believe me, I'm not rooting for Iran. I'm just like, the U.S. is like not have, like that guy said, you have no idea what's coming. I'm going to share the screen and please interject while I share
Sure.
what's going on in the live chat because it's quite lively here. And I
Okay.
want you to participate in the live chat as well, Christian. First, we've
Okay.
got people. Christian White, thanks for
Oh,
being brave to come on
thank you,
Victor's
Angel.
show. God bless you. Uh, Jane Ava Tracy says, so instead of toilet paper, now it's trash bags. They could make many things out of hemp. Yes, of course. We're going to go, once we get through this side, we're going to find out that we don't even need oil or this fake fossil fuel that they're talking about. Because the
Hmm.
breakaway societies, these military industrial complex that they outsource the weaponry, there's going to be good guys inside of there that are going to say, hey, listen, we have the ability to propel UFOs, and they're not propelled with fossil fuels or anything like that. They're propelled with. There's a documentary out there right now about the guy who was working on these projects, and they tried to kill him. And anyway, there's it's like a small thing, it anti gravity, and it's able to warp time quite literally. We have that technology, and the guy that is in charge of something in the military with the U.S. came out and admitted that the U.S. has that technology. So they're holding all that stuff back. I think what they're going to do is they're going to try to do what they do every 100 years, kill off a bunch of people so that people don't remember what happened in the past. and but we're going to be going back into a golden age. I really do believe that. I don't know. People say don't say golden age. Okay, it's going to be better times, people. You just gotta be prepared and beware of those ramen noodles. I've read bad things about that stuff, so it's not
Yeah.
as good as people think.
Yeah, I would lean more towards some type of a protein, and then if I'm going to do a carb, I'd probably pick quinoa because it's got a high degree of protein in quinoa compared relative to like rice and other things. I mean, rice would be a not bad option either. But just to further illustrate the things heating up, I also wanted to mention I saw today that the Pentagon reportedly approached GM, Ford, and Stellantis urgent pivot from auto manufacturing to war/vehicle weapons. Unverified claims Pentagon said war with Russia and China is coming. So I mean, obviously they are. I mean, you don't let something like this go to waste. You know, that's my take on it. I don't know what your thoughts are on Michael Yon, but I mean, he's got some interesting insights on all this. And he's been talking about it for years that they want to push a famine, they want to push something like that, and we're going to see other straits close too. We're going to see, obviously, we're going to see possibly the Strait of Malacca, the Strait of Singapore, Bab al Mandeb, all these other ports. Yeah, and so yeah, they're not gonna put this to bed. They're going to do what they need to do to effectuate this. And also, it's interesting to note the precursors. There's a pizza index I've heard people talk about, right? In Washington D.C. when a lot of pizza companies start. I think this was documented during the Gulf War that the pizza companies noticed that people were ordering a lot of pizza and it was being sent to the Pentagon. So or the pentagram, depending on how you look at it. And so that's another indicator. You look at Polymarket, right? Where people put in their money. Where's capital flowing? Is it going in and out of certain countries? I mean, so it's interesting that there's a lot of different things that you can keep tabs on that are indicators of where of what's going to go on. And I also want to add too, don't you think it's interesting that all these countries are waging war, waging conflicts, whatever, economic, military, etc. But when it comes to Antarctica, and I talked about this a little bit with John Hamer, who wrote The Falsification of History, and how there's an Antarctic treaty that's been signed by 58 nations. I mean, this was like decades ago it was signed. Apparently, it's not universal, but this treaty, I guess, basically postulates that there be peace, non-militarized scientific preserve, bans military activity, mining, nuclear tests, and freezes territorial claims. It's kind of interesting how Antarctica is kind of off limits. All the countries are on board with it. It's like there's something there that's going on. But all the other parts of the world, it's all fair game. So I just thought I'd share that.
Michael Yon's been a guest on this show, and he is phenomenal. We're going to reconnect and talk about some art because he had some questions about the art. And yeah, Michael Yon's on point with all that stuff. And I've been to Koh Samui in Thailand, and yeah, that area is strategic because, again, you're not allowed to talk about it, but the Jews, I just can't bring myself to. I know it's the Irish, but the Jews are going to all these different countries, Argentina to Chile to the Ukraine. They've already taken over the United States, but now they're going into places in Central America. They're going into Asia, and they're wanting to take over everything. And they're because they have the money. They're going into Cyprus. They're going into Greece. They're going into all these places. They're fleeing Israel, and they're going to do what they've done with the U.S. government. They take over the government. Look what they did in Mexico. They took over the presidency in Mexico, which is a Christian country. How did a Jewish president get in there? Well, they killed, I think it was 33 or 37 candidates that were running for government positions. So they just kill them because they pay the cartel. They work with the cartel. So, yeah, they're trying to take over the world. There's no doubt. If you've ever read the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, the proof is in the pudding there, Rules for Radicals, all these different books, they lay it out for you, and they're carrying on this plan. So, yeah, it's...
Well, even over in the, yeah. I mean, even it was the what was the party over in Germany? You had a lot of the politicians dying. This was probably 8 months, 7 months ago or something. The AFV or whatever. I'm blanking out on it. So you have all these weird random things happen to people. I think you have some people run for office who are very naive. They don't understand the system, the powers that be, and they quickly realize who runs the show and how things go down. And they either get caught up in blackmail or something else happens, and they end up in a position where they can't do anything. So um, I find it asinine when you have people like Lindsey Graham arguing for war and conflict. I mean, I don't think this guy's ever served in his freaking life. I think if actually you're advocating for war, you need to be sent on a deployment. You know, last I checked in the history books, a lot of people, a lot of heads of state, monarchs, actually led forces into battle or were active in campaigns in some capacity. They were involved in it more. Today, people are so bereft of this, they're so removed. And I'd love to see Barron, and I'd love to see all the kids of these people also involved in it too. I want to see skin in the game. And so it's just crazy. I think also when people read about things or they see it on TV, just like you hear every day someone gets shot or stabbed or whatever, it's so removed. There's like this cognitive dissonance or whatever. There's no emotional attachment to it. You just see it every day. It's like, and so, but when you go look it up, like if you go pull up on different websites, what's going on over in Ukraine or in the killing that goes on both sides, and you see the raw footage, of just tons of graves and just young people of all ages, people getting. There's another clip I was going to share too of RT of a guy being thrown into. I don't have the clip up of a lot of Ukrainians being abducted. Like this is like something out of the press gangs out of previous eras. People just shoved in there, and meanwhile you have wealthy, um, sons and daughters of fighting age of these oligarchs who are partying over in Europe. They're partying over here in the States. And yeah, it's they don't need the amount of people anymore because now they have AI to take over those roles. So you can get prior to AI, you needed a lot of people, right? Again, I mentioned that earlier: tax base, labor, military. Now you don't need that. You can have fewer people to do the same job, and so that is how I look at it. You don't need it. You see the humanoids in factories, especially over in China. I kind of touch on that with over in Bangladesh or Pakistan. So yeah, but I don't know how long you wanted to go, but I try to always end it on a positive note because I know that a lot of this stuff sounds doom and gloom, and I'm actually a pretty positive person and upbeat. I'm optimistic, so I don't want to create that.
If you have time, I have time because I want to get through some more of these clips and I want to
Yeah,
share some
absolutely. Let's do
comments.
it. Let's do it. Yeah.
This is from Dark State 2020, who's sharing in Compassionate Wealth to let you know that men like Christian White are the light of Christianity. You said you were Roman Catholic, correct?
I was raised Roman Catholic. Okay. I get for the record, I'm iterating on the religious stuff, so I'll just preface that. But I do believe in a creator. I actually I pray and I do a bunch of this is tangential, but I definitely believe in a creator. I believe there is some spiritual battle going on. Um, but yeah, I know I kind of dodged that question a bit. But
Okay. Yeah, no, it's interesting because your name is Christian, and
yeah,
that
didn't get any wider than that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But no, people appreciate your
I almost got
courage.
canceled. The name that's why I had to pick the stage name.
Really?
No,
Are
it's
you
my real name.
serious?
I'm joking. No,
Oh,
it's my
okay.
real name. Yeah. But I did have it when I know you're going to show a video. I'll just comment. I used to be in commercial real estate years ago, and I had somebody say, I normally don't pick up cold calls in commercial real estate. If you're not familiar, you make thousands of calls. It's very different than residential. And so one guy was like, I normally don't pick up calls, but I picked it up just to share. I just found it funny because on his caller ID it said white Christian on
Oh,
the voice message.
so Truth Addict is saying, great show. Thanks for being on, Christian White. Appreciate that. The audience is appreciating your input. J.
I'm
David
good.
Tracy and others are reminding that Michael Yan was a guest on this show, and I've been in contact with him. We will try to have him back on the show as soon as time permits. He's a very busy guy. The way that he came on the show was I just happened to check my email because I don't have a phone. I know my life would
Mhm.
be much easier if I had a phone. But he emailed me and
Sure.
he's like, "Hey, listen, I'm available right now? Can we do the show right now? I'm like, yeah, I just happened to be up and I got everything
Yep.
all set up and I contacted him and we did the live show. But yeah, he's hard to get a hold of. A lot of these people are hard to get a hold of, but when we do get them, boy, they really do share great information. He was also saying that the Jews are using drugs as a weapon. And so, not only in the United States with the fentanyl and the drug addiction that has everybody either pussified or unable to even think properly, they're now legalizing marijuana in Thailand. When I was in Thailand last, marijuana was illegal. But
Hmm.
now he says that there's hemp shops and I forgot what they call them, where they sell marijuana. What is that called
Like
in
a
the United States?
like a dope shop or something.
Dispensaries. There's weed
Dispensaries, yeah.
dispensaries, it says. And so the people in Thailand are completely zoned out all the time. I see that in the United States too. It makes me very sad because my the people that I don't know that when I talk to them, they're all high, and it's not the
Yep.
same. I haven't smoked marijuana in years, and I'll tell you what, I'm so cognizant and I'm so present. And when I was on marijuana, I'm not going to say I didn't enjoy it, but I'm a different person, and
Hmm.
I prefer to be who I am right now. So, yeah, I'm glad that I don't smoke weed anymore.
Well, that's well, as Michael Jan has pointed out, I mean, that's the multifaceted war that's on your mind. And, you think about your average person. You're born into this matrix. You're on almost like a conveyor belt. A lot of times to the grave. A lot of people go their whole lives totally clueless that there are alternative points of view. That there's a shadow government that runs the show. That's involved in criminal enterprises, trafficking. I mean, a myriad of different things. And you're born into this matrix. You don't know any better. Oftentimes, you get put in a position, right, because they push materialism, they push getting into debt to where you have to work, to where you're exhausted, you're tired, your wealth is extracted. You may not have the energy or the time or the understanding of how to put yourself in a better spot. And so it's all by design, and the drugs and a myriad of other things. And so yeah, it is a shift going on, and I'm looking at my notes here. The other shift I wanted to point out real quick. This is you're going to show the video, so let's just we'll watch the clip. I'll stop.
Okay, here's from the Michael Yon X post says political
Hmm.
theater makes leaders look incompetent, but the people behind it are smart. They know what they're doing. Yeah, that's absolutely true. They're they're
Yep.
actually having fun too. I've met some of these psychopaths, and they say they enjoy seeing how much they can get away with. And a lot of times they make bets. There's a movie called It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, and some other movies that are out there about these. Well, Trading Places was another example of how people with money will just mess around with people to see what they can get away with Eddie Murphy and I think it was Dan Aykroyd switching
Hmm.
places. So yeah, we're their entertainment.
There's a theater, and that theater is looking very incompetent. But you and I both know the people behind the theater are not incompetent, and they plan like crazy. They're big planners. And in my experience, they're very smart. They know what they're doing.
The powers that be are following some sort of world scenario game that's been gamed out over the long term. In other words, we tend to look at the short term. We're looking at Iran, we don't an exit strategy, we see moving goalposts. Uh, we're not looking at the 10-year program. And that's what these people are looking at.
There's a theater,
Yeah, that's
and that theater is
exactly
looking
right.
very incompetent.
And
But you and I
so
both know the people
you
behind the theater
interviewing
are not incompetent, and they
let me
plan like
get rid of
crazy.
this here.
Yeah.
You interviewing various people on your show,
Hmm.
you end up getting this kind of knowledge that you wouldn't normally have if you didn't have the show.
Yeah. And yeah. No, I was going to add that I bring on people on the show that are not that are more mainstream. I'll frame it that way. They don't subscribe to so much of like secret societies and other organizations kind of run in the show, and they hold the position that, oh, these people aren't really that smart. There's that. Well, yeah, that's the kayfabe. That's the theater that they're not smart. It's people way layers above them, families and people that people have no clue of. Just like I laugh when Chris Rock made some joke to Jeff Bezos. I don't know if it was at some award ceremony that he's the richest man in the world. Well, look, Jeff Bezos is definitely not the richest man in the world. I don't think Elon Musk is either. Rich people in the world, people don't talk about them. They don't talk about their names. They're very old families, and they don't want to be seen. They don't want to be talked about. And so,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
black ability. That's the family that comes from so far back in wealth that we can't even comprehend it. And they use people like Elon Musk and Bill Gates to take the heat and have people be jealous of them and stuff. But no, the Rothschilds, and even the Rothschilds are not the wealthiest people. There's
no,
people, families. I've posted the names of these people,
yeah,
but yeah, they go back to Venice, to the times
yeah,
in
black
Venice when they.
nobility,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
All right, you got some great clips here. I want to show that clip that you did
oh yeah,
of the people in the factory here, the factory workers in India. Wow,
yeah.
that's so
That one's fascinating.
it's really creepy what's going on here. This is amazing.
Hmm.
By the way, thanks for sharing your time. When you have to go, let me know. I don't want to hold you up, but
Yeah,
I do appreciate you being here, and I do want to
yeah.
get through some of these clips. You took time to do that, and I think the audience apprecites it as well. So let us get to this here. This is factory workers in India are wearing
Hmm.
head-mounted cameras, so AI can watch exactly how humans do physical work. Every hand movement, every adjustment, every shortcut. The workers are training their own replacements in real time on the job, getting paid to do it. The most honest description of this is also the most uncomfortable one. Yeah, this is really weird stuff, people.
Yep.
This is like bizarre here. Uh, this is in India or Pakistan.
Hmm. Yeah. I'll also mention. There will be a time at some point in the very near future where kids in school are going to read in textbooks that you actually had people doing manual labor, like doing landscaping jobs or working in a factory. Like it's going to be like something totally trippy for them that actually human beings actually did that or worked in cobalt mines. It'll be robots. It'll be humanoids here soon.
Yeah, but I don't know how long that's going to last, actually. I think things are going to go so forward that they're going to boomerang back. And what I mean is, for example, if there is an energy crisis, like it's unsustainable that you're going to have these data centers and they need four nuclear reactors and all that water and all that electric. And the people are just not going to stand for it. I'm already seeing that the people who live near these data centers, they're having mental health issues because of the noise that goes there.
Hmm.
So they're waking up and they're like with tinnitus and bad sleep, and they're all stressed out. Eventually, these people are just going to be like, you know what, we've had enough. We're done with this. So I think it's going to happen, but then it's going to go back to like the time of the Planet of the Apes, where the guy wakes up and then the apes have taken over. Only instead of it being apes, I don't know, it might be just like regular people. But then it's going to go to the Lord of the Flies, by the way, because I
Hmm.
noticed that people are just generally like the Lord of the Flies. It's going to end up being like that. There's always somebody who wants to be the king. There's always the narcissist in the group. And then the narcissist convinces others. It's kind of like that show Survivor.
Mm.
I don't know. Seems like we're just not really naturally good people. There's always
Well,
an asshole.
yeah, I just remember one time from the Navy. I tried out for a special operations program. Didn't work out, but one of the things that I observed from that was prior to starting the program, um, people got along. People were affable with each other. They worked as a team, and there was kind of a unison. And then as soon as people started the course, all of a sudden it went dog eat dog, and the instructors, obviously they're trained to do this. They successfully divided people. where people were at each other's throats and getting upset with things because of the stress levels that they would inject into the training pipeline. And I'd never experienced that before in my life, to see that where people just get in an animalistic fashion. And what would happen is, after that program, a lot of people held a lot of animus, as did I, towards people, and just that experience. And so, yeah, I think most people are civil when things are good, but when the stress level gets cranked up, yeah, the animal or the reptilian brain gets in.
I'm sorry about that. I was trying to shut it down, and next thing you know,
Mhm.
I got pulled back into my phone call with Venmo. That's basically what
Oh,
I've been going through with Venmo, by the way. It's been like 2 hours on the phone with a guy like that. I'm not good at doing that accent, and I know
yeah.
that.
On having a
Oh
camera
no, now we've got
literally
this.
everywhere
By the way,
Mm.
yeah,
as part
the
of their AI surveillance state. You've been convinced that driving an electric car is great for the environment by the same deep state elitist billionaires that fly around on private jets, when in reality, this is a car that can be controlled by the CIA. Hey, man.
by the way, I'm trying to control
And that's
this,
just a crazy
but
conspiracy
I don't want you to think, Christian, that I'm cutting
theory.
you off.
What are you talking
The
about?
computer
That
is
No, you're
ain't
taking
not.
real.
on a life
You're
of its own.
good.
It's
This is from
basically
2017, by
I
the way.
can't
You've
control this. I'm
Mm.
not
been sold an
trying
attachment
to stop it,
that you
Mm.
put on your
and it will
wrist that
not
tells you
stop it.
everything that you
There's a delay. There's a delay
about your
that's why he's
health
doing it.
for your
Yeah.
benefit, when really it's for
Yeah,
their benefit,
I'm
so
trying to
that
hear
they know
you. I'm
everything
trying to
about
shut this
your
guy
health.
up. I was
Hey
trying to
man,
shut the
that's
other
just a
guys
crazy
up.
conspiracy theory. There's no
What the hell?
smartwatch or ring that you
Is
put on
this
your
how
finger
X
that's
works,
partnered
or
with
is
the
it just
Department of
me?
Defense or
No,
patented
there's a
technology.
delay going on. So
Ever happen. And
when you hit pause, it's delayed from a
Agree.
previous
Peter,
click. It's
no
playing it.
interest in your health and well-being. No, no, no. And I suppose it's just a coincidence that Palantir
Is X this annoying? I'm glad I'm not on
No.
X.
is
If
involved
this,
in
he
the
won't shut
UK.
up.
You
This guy.
see, you
All
have
right.
fallen for this
I apologize, audience. I'm not able to control
consumerism
this.
and, dare I say, ultra
All right. I guess we're just gonna have to let this play.
capitalism, and you've acquiesced to their new world order without even realizing. Again, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just giving you the information. By the way, do you know who owns Ring doorbells? Yeah, it's Amazon. And do you know who else has a Ring type doorbell? Google. Yeah.
Wow. All right. So apparently it's paused now. So what were you saying before this guy wouldn't shut up, and the other Pakistanis reminded me of my phone call with Venmo?
Oh, I'm trying to think of what I was going to mention. I don't recall offhand, but yeah, I don't recall offhand what I was going to mention, but yeah, there's a number of good clips, good videos on X circulating. So yeah, it's
X is better or worse? And what I mean is, Elon Musk came in and said that he was going to stop censoring. I'm still banned and censored from X. And then he put in that woman who says there's freedom of speech, but not freedom of reach. And so even if you are allowed on X, they don't necessarily allow you. And because she's also Jewish, she's not allowing all the kind of posts that were on TikTok before that was taken over by a Jew. And they're not showing what's really happening in Lebanon or what's happening in Palestine and Gaza. They're bombing tent cities right now. There's supposed to be a ceasefire, but no, they're massacring people. But you won't see it on X, and you won't see it on TikTok anymore, because again, the Jews control the media. They control Hollywood. They control the music industry. I was on a Caravan to Midnight, and during the commercial break, the producer came on and said, "Hey, listen, you're talking about the Jews, so we're the coast to coast radio stations. The station managers would say, hey, listen, if you don't tone it down, we're going to have to shut down the show." So I couldn't talk about the Jews. I didn't realize. So they controlled it, and they're buying up everything, every outlet of media and information, including YouTube. It's called YouTube. So it's just unbelievable. That's how they mind control everybody. They take over the ways of communication. And you and I were talking earlier about how people who seem relatively intelligent, when you talk to them about the stuff that you and I are talking about, they're absolutely clueless. I had a guy saying, "Oh, I don't want to hear about what's going on in Lebanon." I'm like, "Wow, dude. Okay, well, it's coming to you soon, because they're practicing on these Lebanese and they're practicing on these Palestinians. They're seeing what the world is willing to put up with. You don't think they're going to be bombing your city? Have you seen what they're doing in Lebanon, Christian?"
A little bit. I know they're carrying out their agenda over there. That's for sure. I know. I think even Turkey has mentioned that if I don't know if it was Lebanon or another country, Turkey threatened Israel that is basically an attack on them if you keep doing what you're doing. So Turkey has mentioned about making attacks on Israel. Yeah.
Spoke to somebody back from Turkey. They said, "Victor, it's unsustainable." I don't know if you know what a shawarma is,
Yeah.
but shawarma, $54 for a shawarma, and that's what the locals usually eat there because it's like the cheapest food.
Mhm.
$54 for a shawarma. He couldn't believe it. And it's gone up
Crazy.
like overnight because just a couple of years ago, the people were saying, "Oh, Victor, Turkey's super cheap. You got to go there. It's like the cheapest place. Everything's super cheap." Nope. Now it's gone from being super cheap to super expensive. And that's coming to the United States soon. I couldn't believe it. $54 for a shawarma. He wasn't kidding me because he actually took photos too. He was like, "Look,
Hmm.
man, those are the prices." So yeah, that's bad. Let's hear what this guy
Yeah.
has to say.
If you have a smartwatch
Oh, that was the one
electric
that we
car,
played.
a doorbell that has a camera on it, like a Ring doorbell, then congratulations, because you are an NPC. Don't shoot the messenger. I didn't make the rules. I'm just telling you the information. Because all three of these things have one thing in common, which is that they are part of the New World Order. They've convinced you that you need to have a camera on the front of your house for whatever reason, and you've bought one, and what you've done is played into their demand of having a camera literally everywhere as part of their AI surveillance state. You've been convinced that driving an electric car is great for the environment by the same deep state elitist billionaires that fly around on private jets, when in reality, this is a car that can be controlled by the CIA. Hey man, that's just a crazy conspiracy theory. What are you talking about? That ain't real. This is from 2017, by the way. You've been sold an attachment that you put on your wrist that tells you everything that you need to know about your health for your benefit, when really it's for their benefit so that they know everything about your health. Hey man, that's just a crazy conspiracy theory. There's no smartwatch or ring that you put on your finger that's partnered with the Department of Defense or Palantir Technologies, and I'm sure that that would never ever happen. And people like Peter no interest in your health and well-being. No, no, no. And I suppose it's just a coincidence that Palantir is involved with the NHS in the UK. Do you see? You have fallen for this consumerism and, dare I say, ultra-capitalism, and you've acquiesced to their New World Order without even realizing. Again, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just giving you the information. By the way, do you know who owns Ring doorbells? Yeah, it's Amazon. And do you know who else has a Ring-type doorbell? Google. Yeah.
Wow, that's good information. You're right. X has some gems.
Hmm. You just got to know. You just got to know. You got to know where to look. Yeah. Um. Yeah. But.
Sheltering oil shocks.
Mhm.
Did you go through this? This is something you sent me, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I didn't read through the whole thing, but I'm sharing with you that basically, they are letting you know that it's not maybe as abundantly clear as if you turn on, a Fox or an MSNBC or CNN or whatever, but other agencies are talking about it. So whether that's the hermetic thing, they have to let you know in advance before they do something or otherwise. But yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. A message from Ireland. What's happening in Ireland is happening in Canada, Australia, and Europe. This is Agenda 2030. This started with COVID. They want to depopulate the world, and they're doing it. Okay. Let's see what he has to say, and if I can figure out how to get the volume to work on this. Okay.
What's happening here in Ireland is happening everywhere. The amount of messages I get saying it's happening in Canada, it's happening in Australia, it's happening in Europe. This is a global agenda, 2030, right? I've shared some videos on it. There's loads of videos out there. Just look up Agenda 2030. This has been on the card since COVID, and that was the start of it. That was the start of it, where they wanted to kick on the digital ID, the COVID passes. They want to depopulate the world, and they've done that. They're doing it. So just be aware that this is not just about Ireland. So people are watching us here. People are watching what we're doing, and once they see us making these big moves and fucking over our government, the rest of the world can follow suit and see what Ireland have done. We're the fucking leaders here. We're going to show the world what we're about. Era Abu.
Hey, what are they doing
Don't forget,
in
folks, what's happening here
Ireland?
in Ireland is happening everywhere.
Well, there have been increased protests going on. I know the farmers have been up in arms, as have the citizenry. I from what I've heard from people, and I've had on some prominent Irishmen like John Waters, I've had on Ivor Cummins, that Ireland was kind of like the petri dish in some respects. They've experimented with things that I've heard that first before going over to other parts of the UK, like England and other parts of Europe. Obviously, the immigration stuff has completely overrun. It's obviously angered a lot of people. It's caused a lot of displacement. Digital wallets, I believe, have been rolled out too over in Ireland. That was among the early places, reminiscent of Mexico pushing the cashless stuff. If you want to get gas, etc. I think by the end of the year, everything's going cashless in Mexico too. Not saying that of Ireland, but yeah, Ireland digital wallet. Yeah.
Do you think that's going to work in Mexico? I can't see the Mexicans putting up with that. I really don't.
I don't think so. I don't think she's very popular either. Claudia Sheinbaum. No, I like I said, I think ultimately these people are going to fail. They're trying to find the Goldilocks zone. They're trying to find the Goldilocks zone, not too hot, not too cold, in terms of being able to control people. And they're trying to do it very surreptitiously, right? They're trying to do it under the guise of, hey, this is for your health, so we need to do these lockdowns, or in this case now, we need to have austerity, right? We need a ration. We need to do this because of the war that these sons of bitches started. And they know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly down to the T what repercussions. I'm sure they have, just like insurance companies. They can figure out when someone's going to die or whatever, right? They can run all the analysis, there's a like actuary or whatever, where they can decipher things. So yeah, people behind the scenes, above the puppets, they know what's going on, yeah. So, but again, and to kind of wrap it up on a good note. That I do think ultimately we'll obviously, we have to get through this, like, for sure, and there are opportunities, so and leverage it, and I just really implore people to do what you can to increase your personal sovereignty, and learn AI, and a lot. I've gotten shit from some people about AI. Well, we got to turn around AI. We can't do this. Hey, whether you like it or you don't, it's here and it ain't going away. I can tell you that's for damn sure. So. Again, when everyone's done, I highly encourage you, if there's one takeaway from the show, like one of the major takeaways, start to learn Agentic AI. Just starting to tweak it. You have an old computer sitting around, starting to learn about it, because you're going to have a billionaires one day where it's one person who started a massive company and they have no employees. It's all autonomous AI bots. And they're working, and there's ways to do it to mitigate the security risk and other things. Nothing's perfect. It's no different than if you had an employee and they have access to your social security and your bank account or whatever to make payments on your behalf. So I just strongly recommend that. And then we live in a golden age in terms of you can literally learn anything, like almost anything under the sun. And
what's the strangest question you've ever asked one of your guests on your show?
What's up?
What's the strangest question you've ever asked a guest on your show? One that you actually a question that you hesitated to ask, that you weren't sure you should ask, but you went ahead and asked it anyway.
Yeah. Oh, who runs the world? What's the power structure? I've asked some people that are more straight-laced, and I think either they gave a naive response or they didn't want to cover it. So I would say probably that's probably the most sensitive topic I would say is who is running the show, I would say. Yeah.
What kind of answers do you get?
Well, obviously, you hear a lot about the Zionists, running the show. I would say that's the main thing that I hear, is that you have this Chabad Lubavitch leadership / Sabbatean Frankist element that is into this. I've heard that Putin was raised in a Chabad environment, more or less. The Iranians, and then Trump being exposed to that early on, obviously Netanyahu, and so there's that messianic element tying it in there. But I would also say that, and this group never gets really any attention, in my opinion, and it is the Vatican, the Jesuit order. I know it sounds really out there and woohoo, but they don't receive any attention whatsoever. And I've interviewed satanic ritual abuse survivors, SRA survivors, and they mentioned the Jesuits, and there's other groups too. There's other secret societies. So my mental model of it, and I'm glad you brought this up, is I don't look at it as the tiny hats run the show. They certainly play the leadership in the tiny hats certainly plays a role in it. I look at them as more middle management. They're kind of the group. They're kind of the fall group. They're the group that gets the attention, and it's become more acceptable, right? You mentioned about how you're able to talk about things and your views have gone up. That should be a sign. Why are we able to talk about this stuff? Are they taking note of who is having these conversations? Okay. So I would say that the tiny hats, and specifically the leadership, because I got to put this out there. There's a lot of people of tiny hat descent who don't agree with the Zionists, who don't agree with what they're doing. So I want to make that clear. I don't put everyone in the same bucket. It'd be like saying everyone who's Catholic is evil, because you have very dark things going on in deep layers under the Vatican. I mean, that would be just lazy of me to say that. So I would say so from what I've heard from people, you've got different cliques. Maybe they're fighting with each other, but yeah, certainly a Sabbatean Frankist, Chabad linkage somewhere in there with Jesuit. And what's the other clicker group? I mean, just like old black nobility families that no one talks about. That's kind of there, at least on the human plane. And then when you get to the spiritual, right, you have one group is kind of the David Icke camp. Then you have more of a Christian-centric group says it's it's Satan, etc. So I mean, it goes off in different directions, but the main common theme is you've got a clique, you've got a group. They are behind the scenes, and they're involved in all sorts of nefarious activities. They're extremely wealthy, powerful, and they're doing these bloodletting ceremonies and other things going on. So. That's who I think runs it. I can't put a finger on a certain group or certain. I mean, there's names. The 13 names are out there. They're circulating, but yeah. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, and the Freemasons and the secret societies.
Yeah, Freemasonry too. Yeah, Freemasonry too. Excuse me. Yeah, I think they're the minions. I think they are the minions. I think people look at it as benign. I actually had a buddy of mine I was visiting down south. He said he just joined a Freemason lodge in Southern California, and I was like, oh, okay, he's a really great guy. I mean, he's just phenomenal. So I think you have with a lot of these organizations, just like in Chabad, I'm sure there are a lot of great people who are in it who are not aware of the leadership structure. They're not aware of who is steering the ship. I'll use the analogy of maybe this is the best analogy, but think of like a Greco-Roman vessel, right, where everyone's oaring, like something out of, I don't know, Ben-Hur or whatever movie is where it was Charleston Heston, it was rowing. And I picture it as the leaders of these groups that receive the attention. They're the ones who are the sinister evil ones, and they've indoctrinated everybody who is below deck. These are the people rowing. This is your everyday Zionists. They think what they're doing is good. They're not aware of the powers that be. It's just like with the Masonic lodges that I've heard. Yeah, like 33rd degree and other things too. Yeah, so there's different cliques. So I think it's just more nuanced. I also think it's more complicated. I'm giving kind of a simple version of it, but out of the many conversations that I've had with people, that's basically kind of where it's at is and so yeah, that's my current mental model.
Hey, thanks for your time, Christian White. As a matter of fact, Truth Addict 189 says, thank you for your time, Christian. I'll share the screen with you.
Yeah.
I know you got to go, so if you've got to go, just let me know and I'll say goodbye. And but if you want to read some of the comments here from the audience, I can.
Sure, yeah. Happy to. And if I could be a resource to people, and I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna you know, postulate myself as somebody who's like made it in life, or is, I'm figuring it out just like everybody else. I'm on the journey. I'm iterating, and I'm learning. And so I'm just prefacing that. But yeah, I'm happy to be a resource if I can, and just want to encourage people to there's a lot of good in the world. There's a lot of good people, and it's not all doom and gloom. And yeah, we've got some challenges headed our way, but we'll get through this together. So I think what you're doing is awesome. Having a community, Victor Hugo, and I think this keeps a lot of people going. As much as people give shit to the online world, the behind the screen. I mean, it does keep people going, and so I think that's important.
And the observations from the audience, which is worldwide, by the way, we've got people from India here, we've got people
Oh,
from New Zealand, we've got people from all over the world, not just the United States. Jane Ava Tracy says future generations will be amazed that a woman was even involved in giving birth. Yeah, now with the test tube babies and everything, and it's just incredible. They're not even needing men and women to produce children anymore.
well, yeah, that's contributed obviously to the lack of family formation, of course, right? You can have in vitro fertilization, or you don't they you look at the court system. They've done a great job of just demonizing men. You look at the Simpsons, or Family Guy. The guy, the man is a dope. He doesn't have his shit together. The woman is the one who has her shit together, as depicted in the media, right? I mean, think about what that does to your mind, and how disempowering that is. To look at men's testosterone levels having just gone down, just dramatically, just total tank. Obviously, microplastics, geoengineering, who knows whatever else is being ingested into our bodies that mitigates that hormone. And yeah, so
So apparently, the Jews blew up a high school in South Lebanon yesterday. And again, I'm not saying it's all the Jews either, and I've had Jews on my show. As a matter of fact, a lot of the stuff I've learned about the Synagogue of Satan is from the Jews, whistleblowers who tell me, "Hey, Victor, listen, we don't agree with it, and you should know about this." So,
mhm,
yeah, you can't paint with a broad brush, but
yeah,
we should
you
be
know,
able to say it's the Jews. I don't want people telling me that I'm anti-Semitic for saying that, because if you're going to do that, then again, make a rule that you can't say anything negative about white people, nothing negative about black people. Are people realizing that there's a problem there? If the only ones that you're not allowed to point out
yeah.
are Jews, then that means that, like, I don't know, that's a problem. I think it's a problem, and I'm going to go ahead and say it.
Well, I think my candid thoughts are on it is you have had. I don't know how familiar people are with Jacob Frank and what was the other guy? Was it Nathan of Gaza and Sabbatai Zevi and a number of other characters? You have had people that have taken over, who took over Judaism at some point, and apparently a good chunk of it were part of that Sabbatean Frankist element going back, I think, in the 1600s. So look, there's obviously literature, there's pictures, et cetera, depicting, you know, uh, from the bloodletting stuff to usury and a number of different things. So there's a reason why people say that. Obviously, it's erroneous to chastise an entire group of people, but you have had it click. And I think obviously this has really been spurred post World War II, where you can't say this, because I think prior to World War II, you could have these more candid conversations. After World War II, which I think the Zionists used to create the camps that a lot of innocent tiny hats got sucked into, and other groups too. A lot of people don't mention that some of these camps, you had a lot of Christians in there too, and a lot of other groups that were that were in these concentration environments. And so yeah, I think I think the synagogue of Satan crowd has leveraged that, and and has created an environment where you can't talk about it. But I think that is changing. It is changing. So
From your mouth to God's ears, I sense it as well. The people are starting to notice. They're waking up. Um, let's see. I'm looking. Okay, it's
mhm.
real. These crazy brainwashed mega church goers. Yes, Trump supporters were on the side of the road today. I yelled, "You're in a cult." Yeah, what do you think about that Trump cult? It really has turned into a Trump cult.
Trump Cole. Yeah, no, you definitely have. You definitely have it. I mean, hey, look, I bought into the kayfabe. I thought of Trump as being this you know person fighting against the powers, but obviously that is not the case. You know. So yeah, no, I think there's a major shift going on. That's for sure. So there is good news. So and even all the yeah.
Christian. The audience thanks you. Thank you, Christian. Everybody appreciates White. Christian White has much knowledge, good content. Let the light shine. Christian said he was a millennial, so he has got a lot of life ahead of him. Yes. Uh, Women are being completely erased with all these mentally ill trannies running around. Thank you, Hugo, with these good guests is super duper awesome, man. Yeah, you've been a great guest. I want to share in the description section here where people can find the Christian White channel. The link is right here on YouTube. I suggest you guys click and check it out. He has a lot of great guests on his show, and support his channel, please. And Christian, I'm going to stop sharing here so you can
Sure.
have the final word. I apologize
Sure.
for the way that the links didn't play up. And actually, you know what? I've got two more links of yours. So if you want to stick
Sure.
around or if you want to say goodbye, I'll share those with the audience in case you have to go. But if you want to stay, I've got the Beast System one and another one, a breakaway from McGregor. It's up to you.
Sure. I'll stick around. Why not?
Thanks a lot, man. Wow, you're a good
Yeah.
sport.
Yeah.
These shows sometimes, believe it or not, go on for hours, man. So, I mean,
Oh
it's
yeah.
just
I'll repurpose this on my show too.
so
I'll
he's
put it on
one
my
of the
podcast.
even the low level Satanist had no idea. Wow. Okay, what's this? Is this a video or is this just an image
This
here?
is just an image here I thought I'd share. It's
Oh yeah, the MAGA.
yeah.
Yes, Donald Trump
Yeah.
is definitely not who he.
Isn't that interesting? I learned that just relatively recently that MAGA is the fifth degree in the Church of Satan.
Wow, you see,
Can
I've
you
known
believe
that
that
for years.
shit?
People knew that too, and so everybody's waking up at their own pace. I wonder why that is. That everybody's waking up at I don't know. And the reason I say this is because you and I have had guests on the show, and I've just recently been speaking with some very intelligent people and people that are very well connected, and yet some of the things that I tell them, they look at me and they're like, "Really? Is that true?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man, you didn't know that?" And they're like, "Wow, I didn't know that." So yeah, I guess you can't know it all, right? I mean,
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's you do a show like this, it'll change your life. You know.
yeah, I really enjoy the guests and everything that I have on because I do learn so much. Now, this is
Yeah.
breaking. Pentagon approaches GM, Ford, and other large auto manufacturers to discuss shifting from auto development to weapons and military supply production. Wow, that's pretty serious, man.
Yeah.
By the way, I was
Yeah.
on a show,
Yeah.
Douglas McGregor, on Redacted. I've been trying to get him on my show. Have you ever had Douglas McGregor on your show?
I haven't, but I'm having his son on for the third time tomorrow, and I'll see what I can do to do that. His son is Cameron McGregor, and I figured, heck, if Douglas McGregor, if Colonel Douglas McGregor is saying that you have these manufacturing companies pivoting, I mean, come on. I mean, okay. Let me frame it this way. Right now, this is mid to late 1930s. Okay. Japan has invaded China, Manchuria. They had the Manchurian puppet. They're going to do the rape of Nanking, all that going on. Eventually, you have Hitler invading the Sudetenland. I think that was in 39. You have all these other moving parts going on, right? Okay. This is kind of the same thing, in my opinion, where I think it'll really start to tick up 2028, 2030. That's where we're really going to, because, right, they're really trying to hit the Agenda 2030 thing. So, and they let us know. They let us know. So this is just kind of, so yeah, brace for shock, as they used to say in
Douglas
the Navy.
McGregor's son. Is he also in the
What's up?
military?
What's up?
Douglas McGregor's his
The
son,
son, the son
Douglas.
was in. Yeah, Cameron was in the Navy. He was a West Point. Excuse me, not West Point. Yeah, he was a
Naval Academy?
And he went to Annapolis. Excuse me, he went to Annapolis. Wait, am I blanking out? Oh my gosh, yeah, Annapolis is Navy Marine Corps. Yeah, he went to Annapolis. He was in the Navy. He was an officer. He was on a I don't know if he was on like a destroyer or some other vessel. Yeah, he did not like it. He did not like it. Just like
What
me. That's why I got
what
out.
what class was he in? Because I was at the Naval Academy in the class of
Oh,
1993. I served alongside Carter
oh, oh,
Page.
oh, his son is, I think he's 10 years on me. So he's about 43. I think he's 40, 41, 42. The son. His name's Cameron.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, really good guy. Really good guy.
I'd love to ask him what he thought about the Naval Academy because a lot of people, I don't know, when they hear about my story there, I had to meet with Vice Admiral Hill because of what I witnessed. And that's where I learned about Agenda 2030. And actually, they didn't have Agenda 2030 then. It was Agenda 21, which happened at the UN. It was UN in Brazil. They all agreed on this depopulation plan. But what they were doing was they were training us at the Naval Academy to become traitors to our country. And they were trying to pick out the biggest psychopaths there. And they were trying to groom me to be a psychopath. And I was able to fight that off. But I was a whistleblower while I was there. And that's how I ended up going into hiding because the CIA told me that I needed to lay low because I was getting ready to write a book about it. I was doing interviews on television, and they said, "Listen, you're bringing too much attention to this." And this was before the internet, so there were articles written about it in the New York Times, and the Washington Post, the Miami Herald, all sorts of. It was making international headlines because women were being raped at the Naval Academy, and they were officers getting raped by other officers. So what I exposed there was that there was toxic leadership at the highest levels, and that these people were being groomed to be traitors. They weren't being groomed to be officers and gentlemen. They were being groomed to be psychopaths and liars. So yeah, I'd love to discuss that with his son, especially if he went to the Naval Academy, because not many people are talking about what really happens behind those closed walls at the Bancroft Hall, which was my home for 2 years, and it was really bizarre the things that I witnessed there. So yeah, and if you'd like to have me talk about that on your show, because people really don't talk about that. The military is the weapon that's for the central bankers, like Smedley Butler said. War is a
Yeah.
racket. I wasn't being groomed to serve my brothers and sisters, and you know, I mean, you served in the Navy too. Uh, um,
Well,
we
yeah. I
served
mean,
central.
yeah. So you inquired about Cameron. Cameron, again, for the audience, this is Douglas McGregor's son. He did not enjoy it. He did not enjoy the people he was around. When I was in, I tried out for a special warfare program. It didn't work out, and then I got put into the fleet and was a corpsman. But I'll just say this, and some people might think, well, you're just bitter because you didn't make it through or whatever. I don't care. The people that I went through that special warfare program with, I was really taken back. I do think certain personality, I mean, obviously, you're going to get type A personalities into a program like that, but specifically, people that were, I would say, almost psychopathic. There was no there was no humanness in them. No, no, straight up. And these are the people that are in some of these
The
communities.
highest levels, the positions,
These are
those
some.
are the
These are
ones.
yeah. These are people. I mean, yeah. I mean, it like dog eat dog, and I was that was yeah. I mean, and then when you're in the fleet, for those who don't know, fleet is just big Navy. Um, I mean, there's all sorts of people that in there. I think there's a lot of good people. And but yeah, to your point, it is an instrument of the banking cartel, if you will, and and it's its own system, right? You've got TRICARE, which is the medical health coverage, what have you. They cover your housing. They provide you an education. I mean, it's you're in your own world, right? And people get stuck into it when they have a kid really young, or they're financially strapped, where they just, well, I'm going to put in a few more years. I'm going to re-enlist. And so it keeps people in the matrix, keeps them going. But yeah, I just Yeah, I'm glad I'm actually in May. May will be 7 years. Yeah, I was out in Lemoore of all places. That's actually where they filmed Top Gun 2. They filmed part of it out there, and it's out in the boonies in California. But yeah, it'll change your life. Just like doing the show. Doing the show has completely changed my life. Like completely changed my life. Like once you unsee or have conversations, you just can never unsee look at the world the same way again. So I feel fortunate to be able to do it. And so, but I'm happy to if people want to reach out, feel free. I have a website, christianevanwhite.com, or you can leave comments on there. I usually respond to them. And be well, be well. I think life is good. It's all. I feel like everything is mental in this world. And if I might share, actually, I'll share a book here real quick. Let me.
So that's christianevanwhite.com. I'll put that in the description section after the show. That's christianevanwhite.com.
Yeah,
Correct?
and I'll share this with the audience because these are two of my favorite books, and I want to leave on a positive note. I'm underscoring that because there's a lot of negative shit out there in the world. The first book is by Dr. Joseph Murphy. This came out in the 60s. This book is called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. Okay, this is legit. This is like $5. Get the book. If you're listening to this, get the book. This is a no-brainer. This is worth all the money in the world. Get the book. Health, wealth, everything. Get it. I'll repeat it again. Get the book. Okay.
The power of your subconscious mind. The power of your subconscious mind, right?
The power of your subconscious mind. Yeah, right. Because your subconscious is what regulates your breathing and your bodily functions. I mean, you don't have to think about those things, right? Your conscious mind does. So he shares stories and he unpacks it. He just talks about your mind is so powerful. I know it sounds cheesy and like infomercial, really corny, maybe Tony Robbins-ish or whatever people, but your mind is really powerful. It'll make you healthy. It'll make you sick. It'll make you poor or whatever. So that's so important. The other book I have, this one kind of has a cheesy title, but I really love it. I actually keep both of these books right on my nightstand next to my bed. And that way I remember the message of it, and I open it up and I just read a little bit of it. So it refreshes my memory. The other one here, again, really corny. But the other one is called Your Wish is Your Command. Again, I know it sounds kind of hokey. It's by Kevin Trudeau. Some people might have an opinion of this guy or other, but I picked it up. I've read a number of different books on self-improvement over the years and different things, but this is a really, really good book. I just can't emphasize it. This is another no-brainer. Get the book. I'm not even sponsored by these people. I don't get a freaking dime, nothing. Get it because it's so important. I mean, he basically distills like Think and Grow Rich and like Napoleon Hill and who was the other guy aside from Norman Vincent Peale. And so it's just so powerful. Like you could literally change your life in like 6 months. It's all mental. It's all mental. Or we're just in a meat suit. We're living in a meat suit, having a human experience.
By the way,
what's up?
You're the second guest that I've had on in the past month, actually, who's recommended that book and done so in the manner in which you did, Holding It Up by Kevin Trudeau. Your wishes.
It's very good. It's very good. Yeah. I do rituals morning and night. I do rituals more. Write them out. Say it like you mean it. There's power in that. People don't talk about this stuff. Right, it's considered woohoo, fringe, cheesy shit. The shit fucking works. Pardon my French. And then the secret societies, they do this shit. They're into all the mystery schools, right? They're into what's the other stuff? Gematria, numerology. They do this stuff. And what was I going to mention? Occult stuff has a negative connotation. Occult just means hidden. Occult is not bad. It just means hidden. And you have people who tap into that knowledge to do bad things, but it's not bad. You can leverage it to bring what you want into life. Because I look at it as you're going off on like, I feel like I'm like preaching or going off on a tangent here. It sounds cheesy, but I feel like we're all part of the divine, right? From God, from source, whatever you want to call it, and we're having a human experience, and you can create the reality that you want. And so I'm doing right now. doing what I want to do. I work for my computer. I don't have to go work for anywhere. I've tried a lot of different careers, a lot of different things that did not work out. And I've gone through a lot of money. I've had to go through retirement money. I mean, just a lot of stuff. I've had to go into debt at times, a lot of debt. And so this is trial and error. And so, but I feel like, yeah, all the doom porn, doom and gloom, like you just gotta be positive, you know. I think life is good. It's just it's all in your head. It's all mental. None of this shit matters
Yeah.
at the end of the day, anyways. No one's gonna be talking about this shit 100 years from now. They'll be talking about something else. I mean, no one
Yeah.
gives a shit.
Hey,
So
by the
I mean,
way,
that's my philosophy.
yeah, you're recording this, and I'm assuming you're gonna try to upload this on YouTube. You're gonna have a
Yeah,
lot of editing with that, which is funny because when I was on your show, every time I said Jew, you were like boop
I
boop.
did that. I
Yeah,
did
yeah.
that.
But
I
that's
did
the
that
way. Yeah, that to get it through there. So good luck with this show because I'm pretty sure you're gonna have to
I'm
do
getting
some
better at
edit.
it.
You're gonna have to do some editing to get this up on YouTube. But hey, listen, thank you, man. It's been great. I look forward to hosting you again on the show. The audience loved you. They really appreciate you sharing your time and your insight. And there's so much more that we can talk about, but it's almost 2 a.m. here, and I'm gonna go to sleep. Thank
Are
you
you
so
sleep?
much. Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah.
sleep?
I do. I do get enough sleep. Actually, that's
I, th-
very important. But people need
I
to
thought I
get
thought
at
you were the
least 8 hours.
Energizer bunny.
By the way, is 8 hours is a good amount of time for sleep, right? Or do you sleep more than 8 hours?
You know, I sleep about 8 hours. I'm actually trying to condition myself where I don't need as much. Again, I think it's mental because they've hammered it into us. You need 8 hours of sleep. You need 8 hours of sleep. Like that. That's a construct. I think you could probably operate on far less sleep. I think Napoleon got like 6 hours of sleep. I think he actually wrote about that. He actually made kind of a joke like, you know, men only need 6 hours and so needs 7 hours. And then this, you know, it's kind of interesting. So I've kind of looked into that. Like, what did these people who accomplish stuff, how much sleep did they get? What was their regimen like, their daily stuff? Um, so I don't know. I think 8 hours is just an arbitrary number they throw out there, but I do get plenty of sleep. I take a lot of naps during the day. Like if I get up early for a podcast, I'll nap. I mean, I think if you get sunlight, people are vitamin D deficient by and large. You get sunlight, you go on a walk, you just try and eat whole foods, not the store, but just eat healthy, you know, just reasonably healthy foods. And you get some exercise in, and you just, you know, take a breather. Like, those are all the riches right there. You're going to be healthy. You're going to have a great life instead of take all these drugs. You got problems. You're anxiety, depressed. You got all this. Or take this drug, take that. They got back problems, blah, blah, blah. So it's like literally all mental. It's you know, I just can't emphasize that enough.
We've touched on so many topics, and this is such an interesting one because sleep is so important. I there was a one of the greatest inventors or geniuses of our time supposedly slept 15 minutes at a time, and once. But see, the thing is, 15 minutes is when you get into REM sleep. And one of
Yeah.
the things that I went through in Hell Week, which I'm sure you went through, I had to go through Hell Week twice, by the way. I went through Hell Week at the Newport Naval Base in Newport, Rhode Island, and then I went through Hell Week again at the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. That's where basically they deprive you of sleep for a whole week, and you had to go through that, right? Isn't that part of basic, or did they just make? I I've heard of Hell Week. You've been through Hell Week. Tell me you have, right? You know the whole sleep.
Well, the whole week that I know of is the one from the Navy SEAL training, and I did not make it through that part.
Okay, because the sleep deprivation part was the hardest thing that I've ever been through in my
Well,
life.
same
Because
here.
what happened, the, the the gunny sergeant would come in. They would work you out to exhaustion. We would have to jog, not jog, but we would have to run for miles with the backpack on and the boots and everything and the rain and all that stuff. And then they would let you go to sleep. But then just at 14 minutes and 30 seconds, just as you were entering into the REM, the gunny sergeant would come in with a baton and a metal garbage can and just make it sound like the rattling of a gun, of machine gun fire. And then you'd have to wake up and then put on all your stuff and then go do some other stuff. And so you never were able to fully get rest. The reason why they did that was because if you're in a wartime situation and you're under attack, you have to be alert at all times. So, but the sleep up, that was the week that most people dropped out because they couldn't handle it. It was just like you started going crazy. I remember I actually was able to learn how to sleep standing up with my eyes open, which was really weird. I didn't know the human body is able to do so many amazing things. So, because you didn't want them
It
to
is.
see that you sleep and you couldn't just fall to the floor. So I would
Yeah.
find myself staring and I would let my mind go. And somehow I was able to sleep standing up. I mean, I can't explain it, but I did it.
Yeah.
So anyway, the reason I'm saying this is because there was a famous inventor who said that if I forgot his name, if somebody probably in the live chat knows who I'm talking about, I think it
Mhm.
was Da Vinci. I don't know, but he said that you only need about 15-minute naps, and you could survive if you do 15-minute naps, and maybe you could only sleep like maybe 5 hours at a day or 4 hours at a day, as long as you took a 15-minute nap every hour. That's what it was. And then Dali, the way that he created his masterpieces was he would fall asleep with a glass in his hand. And the moment that he started slipping into a dream, the glass would fall and shatter, and he would wake up and he would start painting or drawing or sketching whatever it is that he was dreaming. And that's why he was able to create such incredible abstract works of art. But yeah, there's a level of lunacy and insanity in what these people did too. Because in order to be a genius or some sort of an amazing artist, you have to really draw that line between insanity and sanity. You have to really let yourself go. So
Well, yes, and a lot of people aren't aware of. I think the term is biphasic sleep, where people didn't sleep, the full 8 hours. Like if you go back, like 150, 200 plus years ago, people had two sleeps, where they'd go to bed, and then the early morning hours they might be up for a few hours, spending time with family or their loved one or whatever, and then they'd go back to bed. So there was a 2 cycle sleep, and I think Charles Dickens makes reference to it. Ben Franklin, I think, does, and you go back in time. So right, we're all inculcated, whether you're a baby boomer or you're a millennial or a Zoomer watching this. We're all been programmed into this 20th century matrix paradigm, and we have to remember, like, this is not the norm, right? This is not the norm how people lived. I mean, and so yeah, you brought that up. Yeah, the sleep was broken into 2 cycles, and they did that in the Middle Ages and other parts too. So yeah, this whole, you need to do this, you need to do that. I mean, yeah, as we mentioned earlier, a lot of stuff has been obfuscated. I think a lot of the health stuff, a lot of the diseases, it's already been cured. Shit's been around forever. They put people on the conveyor belt to their grave when they go to the hospital and take this. You need to do this. You need to do that. It's a lot of it just sunshine, going on a walk, eating healthy, and just realizing none of this shit matters at the end of the day. It really doesn't.
yeah.
So
Wow. Okay. So on that note, I would read some of the comments that are in the live chat here, but I don't know. I guess what I'll do is I'll just share screen so you could see the wicked humor that this audience has. We've
oh
got
my gosh,
Truth Addict 189 says
oh
20
my
minutes is
god,
better than an hour or two. Rock and Show, with regards to the Navy training me to sleep standing up, no stopping. It says they trained Victor to be a horse. Jane Ava Tracy says Nikola Tesla is often associated with a form of extreme polyphasic sleep for 15 minutes at a time. And then no stopping it describes the way that I was trained to sleep like a horse is because I used my 4-foot penis as a kickstand. That's in reference to Jim Fetzer, who swears that he's always thinking about my painting that I did, Two Snails at a Fountain, which Jane Ava Tracy has as her picture there for her meme. And he swears that it's a picture of a penis when it's actually a picture of two snails
mm.
beside a fountain and a woman. So again, what people see in artwork is always fascinating. I
Oh
always thought
yeah,
that. What a strange way to end the show, but at least it wasn't on a dark
yeah.
note. It was in a dirty humor joke and horse as a kickstand joke. So I guess I'm getting kind of flippy here because it's late. So let's
Sure.
end it on that. As bizarre
Yeah.
of an end as that is to the show. All
Very
right.
well. Very well.
Thank you, Christian White. Thank you, No Stopping It, for the showstopper. Layla Decker thought that was funny. She's cracking up, and so is Dark State 2020. Yeah, we have to have a dark sense of humor in these dark days. So don't take everything so seriously, people. Remember, united we stand, divided we fall. Never give up, never surrender. Keep shining. Live, love, flow. I think we left Christian White speechless. Thanks, No Stopping It, for leaving Christian White speechless. Take care. God bless you, Christian. Cheers.
Hey, take care, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Victor Hugo. Be well. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you liked it, I encourage you to like, share, /subscribe. The show's on YouTube, Spotify, etc. And I always look forward to hearing your feedback. Be well. Take care. Thanks.